You're live.
What's a better word for tranquility?
Tranquility.
Tranquility.
Serenity.
Let me make sure.
How are you trying to use it? And why is tranquility not good?
How about this? I'll say peace instead. Let me just make sure. Let's look up the etymology of peace.
There's a Moor in Massachusetts that wants to meet up with us. I don't know if you want to do that at some point later today or tomorrow.
There's also another more coming tomorrow.
So you want to do it at the same time?
Yeah.
Rashad, what time are you leaving tomorrow?
He's not.
Probably sometime after 5, maybe.
After 5 in the
Yeah,
afternoon?
maybe 5. Yeah.
Okay.
5 a.m. Friday morning?
5 p.m. tomorrow.
Nebuary PM. So we'll meet them during the afternoon tomorrow at some point.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Are you live for?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's only 19 people on.
Alright,
I'm all shaky cam, sorry.
so
Let me get it together first. I'm gonna make people throw up here. Alright. I'm still.
before we can talk about what to say in court and what law is, or really what to say in court, or really anything, right? Before we can say anything, we have to start with a foundation, right? You can't start.
Look. You have a student
Oh, hi, student.
in the flesh.
You can't start walking until you start crawling, right? So that's the foundation. You can't start crawling until your little infant body gets stronger in the legs. Blah, 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 blah. So everything's foundation, right? So I wrote this quick little thing down on what law is because Moors don't know what law is. And you can tell they don't based on what they say and the questions that they ask. Not to say that asking questions is wrong, but most of the time when I'm talking, I'm not talking about Moors that are just now waking up. I'm talking about Moors that are all over the social media, internet.
Listening to anybody with something to say.
You know, acting like they're qualified to teach when they're not. Right? Because based on the things that they say, you can tell that they don't even comprehend, or as they like to say, understand or overstand or outstand or sideways stand or whatever they want to call it, EY, woke. They don't get the basics. They don't get the elements of things, right? And when you're younger, you talk the elements, like don't touch the oven because it's hot. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I wrote this down just so people know, right? Law is a written reflection of what is observed from nature / the universe. Whatever you want to call it, cosmos, Elohim, Allah, Yahweh, whatever, I don't care what you call it, that's just, it is what it is, right? This reflection is written for the guidance of humanity towards peace. That's it. That's why it's called juris, right? Juris, Juris, which means what? Right or positive, plus the word prudence, which is what? Science or philosophy. But people don't know what philosophy is. Phil is Latin, it means love. And osophy means the study of. Right. So you love to study. Any questions on that? That's all law is. That's what jurisprudence is. And since we're dealing with the laws of polarity, if you have positive law, guess what else you have?
Negative.
Negative law.
Like de jure and de facto?
No, because de facto doesn't mean bad.
True.
De facto just means in fact. So
It's just our de facto law is bad right now.
I have an expo marker in my hand, and that's de facto.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I stole it or not, that's what makes it good or bad. Because Prophet Noble Drew Ali was the de facto sultan. Who elected him? No one. So it wasn't de jure. But do people think like that? No. That's why I said if I can just get you to think, you would what?
Say yourself.
So, just like it says in the Holy Quran that the Prophet gave us, the same sun that hardeneth the clay or whatever, softens the whatever else. Right? So it's not the thing that's bad, it's how you use it. So law can be used for positive and negative, right? Another example. If you worked hard to establish stuff for your family and you don't want people to steal it, guess what you do? You protect it. Right? But if you're a criminal and you create a criminal enterprise and you don't want someone to destroy it, guess what you do? You protect it. So is protecting things bad? No. It's the intention. Right? So just for the visual learners, ta-da! Figure this one out. Read that.
So, you want me to read it?
Well, skip that for now. We're not even there yet. We have to deal with this first. Law is a written reflection, as above so below, right? Of what is observed, which means to see, from nature. This reflection is written for the guidance of humanity towards peace. Now, when we talk about peace, it's it can be subjective, but it can also be objective. Because right now, the de facto criminals are at peace because they're at the top. We're not because we're at the bottom. But if there was no top or bottom, then everyone would just be at peace. Right? So just change your mind on how you look at everything. Because not everything is what it appears to be. So now, law and history have to be taught together. That's number one. Once you get the foundation of what law is and what jurisprudence is, which law is jurisprudence, then you'll see how over time, via the establishment of empires and kingdoms and city-states and whatever else our ancestors and European ancestry built, you'll see that law and history have to be taught together. Because someone first observed what was happening in nature and said, hey bro, look how the bees do it. Let's do it like them. And that's how organization got established. Get it? Simple, right?
Yes, sir.
Then we can look at the Second Amendment. Second Amendment says you have the right to what? Bear arms, right? Let's look at bees again. What do they have? Stingers! So is the Second Amendment a constitutional right or the law of nature?
The nature's law.
It's nature's law, right? It's just the Constitution is a written instrument to go back to if people of the United States try to violate that natural right. So you see how the Constitution is not law? It's just a reflection of what the law already is? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's history behind the Constitution itself, which is why, again, law and history have to be taught together. Then, as it relates to being in a courtroom, this is such an exciting, invigorating classroom, right? Your energy is just at 1,000 right now, right? Because I'm not monotone at all. There's 3 prominent issues at law. The first one is status. Status can be explained as multiple different things. It can be explained as your competence, it can be explained as your nationality, and it can definitely be explained as your political allegiance. That's key, because when people talk about nationality, they leave out, for some reason, allegiance. So now, in the past, I briefly went over status. Not really, but I kind of went into detail as well. But when we're dealing with status and political allegiance, guess what that also affects? I'll tell you. Taxes.
Taxes?
Why does it affect taxes, Jamal? Great question. Who asked that question? That was a great question. Because if you don't have allegiance to, let's say, China, right? And you're not physically located within the political geographical area called China, then you don't owe them taxes, right? Because you don't have political allegiance to them. Right? All right, let me go back, because I've also heard Moors talk about taxes and how taxation is theft. Right? They make the statement that taxation is theft. Taxation is not theft. Taxation without representation is theft. Right? Because if you want to have an institution, well, first of all, let's just try to break it down to the simplest thing, right? The most local form of government is a city. Right? It's called a municipality. A municipality is just a subdivision of a state. I'm gonna try not to go off into explaining every little thing, because it's gonna probably sound confusing, but it's really not.
No.
So the most local form of government is a city. Depending on how big your city is, it will be your town. But we're not gonna go into that. A city has, first of all, a city is established via a charter granted by the people, right? The people say, we want this city to be called such and such.
Right.
We want the power of the mayor to be X, Y, and Z. We want the power of the city council to be X, Y, and Z. Right? So the people grant the municipality the power. Since the people give those people power and responsibility, they have to pay those people. Right? You can't just say, here, take care of this, and then not pay someone for it.
Right.
So guess what the people agree to do?
Pay.
Pay taxes. Why? So the city can take out their trash. So the city can maintain a fire department. So the city can maintain a police department. So the city can maintain the water or whatever. Right? That's what taxes are for. So how is that theft? And the people that participate in the city are called citizens. Is that bad? No. So how is taxation theft?
It's just...
Now, if you were a citizen and you pay taxes and your taxes ain't being your trash ain't being taken out, and your water's disgusting, right? And you don't got, and the police ain't protecting you, then that's theft.
Police aren't protecting us. They're not teaching us the right things in schools. They're not giving us, you know,
So what's that?
health or education. But I mean,
Hold on.
we're consenting to that.
Hold on. It's theft if it's forced. If you're just agreeing, it's not theft. Right, so that's status. Any questions?
Let me see if there's any questions here. Not on that yet.
How do you apply that in court, Jamal? Great question. That's wow. You students are amazing.
Thank you.
Probably the best.
She's writing down everything
students
you're saying.
ever. The best students ever. So now let's apply this tax situation, right? Let's say you haven't been paying your city taxes. So they take you to city court, right? You say, well, excuse me. First of all, one, historically, my people were here first. Two, based on that fact, I don't owe you anything. Simple, right?
Yes. And what are the
Then-
key?
Hold on.
See, I was about to ask you a question.
Okay.
No, you go ahead.
No, go. Because I'm being very general and not specific at all, and it can be very confusing if you don't know what I'm talking
Well, be specific too.
Well, this is just a hypothetical situation. If you were in municipal court regarding city taxes, right, and you're a Moor, right, you would say, well, first of all, you're not a citizen of the city. Then you would say, according to the treaty that our countries have, I'm not even supposed to be in this courtroom. And then based on that, they're supposed to say, oh yeah, you know what, we can't even adjudicate on this matter. That's in a perfect world.
Yeah.
That's in a world where everyone is just, oh, that's what laws are for. They're for peace, and everyone has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is in a world where there's no criminals that exist. That this is just going to be enforced 1, 2, and 3. Boom, 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 and then no problems. You say what you have to say, you know the stuff you need to know, and then everything is smooth like butter. But when that doesn't happen, that's when the bees use their stinger.
Right.
But for the sake of not being scary, it's called the executive branch and the Department of Justice, to make sure that this is being abided by. Get it? So, within jurisdiction, you also have something called personam. Personam jurisdiction, which means what? Jurisdiction over the person. Right? You have subject matter. This is material facts. Whether it's civil or criminal. This is why there's family court, there's tax court, there's foreclosure court, there's district court, and there's criminal court, because it's different subjects. Right. Then you have land or territory, terra. Terra means earth. Then you have air and sea. Now, normally, this is where I've seen Moors, well, I've heard Moors confuse stuff, right? They'll say, like, Rhode Island territory, right? Because they're trying to separate themselves from the corporate jurisdiction. But you can't do that by calling the land Rhode Island. Right. Because that's not the name of the land. It's Narragansett. You get it? So we're not in Rhode Island. We're not on Rhode Island. We're on Narragansett soil, or we're in Narragansett. The group of Europeans who refer to themselves as Rhode Islanders are also in the same geographical area. They call it Rhode Island, but that's not the name of the land. That's the name of their political organization. Just like the name of this city, isn't necessarily
their corporation.
Kentucky. Although that may be an Aboriginal name, that's not the name of the land. Right? And this idea of political jurisdictions is where the Europeans taught our people that we're different Indian nations, when that's not what it is. All right? The Narragansett isn't a nation of people. It's a confederation of different people. Just like Rhode Island isn't a bloodline, it's a political jurisdiction of different people.
Like the United States.
Yeah, but they try to trick you by saying, "Oh, I'm a Rhode Islander," as if it's an identity. No, it's just a political jurisdiction. That's it. Narragansett is not a nation; it's a political jurisdiction. That's it. Rhode Island is not a bloodline of people; it's a political jurisdiction. That's it. You're not a New Yorker. New York is a political jurisdiction. That's it. Your bloodline isn't New York. Your bloodline isn't Massachusetts. Your bloodline isn't Rhode Island. So you're not a Rhode Islander. You're not a New Yorker. That's how they're messing with people's minds via the language. Now you can be a citizen of Rhode Island because Rhode Island is a political jurisdiction. You can be a citizen of New York because New York is a political jurisdiction, right? And don't get it twisted where government isn't a corporation. There's nothing wrong with a corporation. The word corporation, corp, right? This is why you have to study language. I know what I'm doing, look. All this shea butter on my fingers. Right? Corporation. Corp.
Buddy.
No, not you.
Oh, you said I was not a good student. So I'm participating now.
How do I spell corporation? Is it A?
No.
Corp?
Yeah. Or. Nope. O.
Whatever. Action. Action, making. ing, suffix. Corporation. So this is again why language is so important, because the English language is derived from Egyptian hieroglyphics. All languages are logographic languages, although scholars say that they're not. They'll say that Egyptian hieroglyphics, scholars, right? Egyptian hieroglyphics is a logographic language, but the English language is, they use the word grapheme, right? Or they'll say it's, let's see, what's the word? Can't remember the word, but they'll use the word grapheme, right? The word graph, as in grammar, right? Because the word grammar is derived from the root word graph. Means to carve. You're carving an image or a logo. So it's still a logographic language. Mm-hmm. It's just instead of using pictures, we use glyphs or images of something to pronounce the sound. That's called a grapheme. Right? And we know what it is. We were taught in like what, 3rd grade syllables? Mm-hmm. That's phonology. Right? This is why script and language, which means tongue, have to be studied separately. This is why when I put an A or an O there, it doesn't matter because it's a vowel. Because in ancient languages, we didn't even use vowels. So you can't really spell wrong. Mm-hmm. And then if you look at the English language, right? I'm going to support what I'm saying. If you look at the English language, what does that look like to you? That.
F. Or king.
That's an S.
Mm.
So if you look at Old English, if you go to City Hall in Pawtucket and we go upstairs to the Recorder of Deeds, you'll see where this was an S. Matter of fact, I'll go get my encyclopedia and I'll show you.
So.
Because it's just a glyph that tells your brain to pronounce it a certain way. Mm-hmm. So it can't be wrong.
So.
What? What?
That person's not wrong then?
I don't know what you're talking about. You just pointed at God?
No. Remember those tags? We were talking about it yesterday. He's slow sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask any questions yet?
No.
Let's see if I can find a word with ness in it.
Well, I got one question. Somebody says you still write smaller than an ant.
Look, it says, suppose a ship in the latitude, see where it says, see that? That's an S. S-U-P-P-O-S-E. Suppose a ship in the latitude of 45 degrees, blah, 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 blah.
Where?
Right there, right where my thumb is. That's an S.
Oh, yeah.
That says suppose, and that says ship.
Yeah.
See? Now that glyph, or that grapheme, whatever you want to call it, is derived from a different language. Right? And then whatever language that's derived from is derived from another language. And then whatever language that's derived from is derived from another language. Mm-hmm.
Someone does have a question. I don't know if you want to put a pin in it till you get to that point. if you can elaborate on the separation of powers between the different jurisdictions, municipality, state, and federal.
Yeah, I can do that. Want me to do that right now?
Well, I think you should continue with this, and then...
So, the point of this is to just study morphology. Right? Morphology is ology, you already know the study of. Morph means to change, right? So if you study how words change and how letters change, also called transliteration, you'll see that when you read things, you won't be confused. So all governments are corporations. Don't get it twisted. Based on etymology, what the word itself is. I'm not talking about what they do. I'm talking about what the word itself is. Right? So to talk about the separation of jurisdictions, we can't just talk about it without talking about history. Right? Because I can say Massachusetts.
Sorry, I don't think we got to adjudication yet. I think we just was on jurisdiction, and then you were going to go to adjudication, but...
Yeah, we'll talk about that after this.
Okay.
Right? If I say Massachusetts, you kind of have... What do you have in mind? If I say Massachusetts, what do you think of?
Corporation.
What else? Do you think of the shape of Massachusetts?
No.
Not really?
No.
Do you know that that wasn't always the shape of it?
Right.
Did you know that Massachusetts was all the way up into Maine? Do you know that Maine wasn't Maine, it was Massachusetts? So
It's a people, right? Or it's either the name of the people or the name of the land?
Just the jurisdiction itself. Where we think it is. Because you can't talk about separation of powers without talking about that.
The imaginary borders?
Yeah. Right? So, remember in the Quran where Noble Darli said in the chapter of magistrate and subject that the power or the dominion of a king rests on the hearts and minds of their subjects? Mm-hmm. That's where the border is. It's almost incomprehensible, ain't it?
Yeah. I'm just letting them process.
Say it again.
So, let's say Rise and Moors as an example, right? Mm-hmm. The headquarters is basically right here, right? But if there's another group of Moors somewhere else that agree with Rise of the Moors, our philosophy, our teachings, everything we're doing, and they want to be part of Rise of the Moors, well then that's as far as our jurisdiction goes.
Okay.
Get it?
Yeah, I get it now.
Same thing with any political jurisdiction whatsoever. Mm-hmm. That's why the Moorish Empire extended across the entire planet. Those people were still whatever they identified as. Just like right now, the United States, right? They got jurisdiction over basically the whole planet. Mm-hmm. But in order to hide their empire, they say the United States and all the territories that belong to it, which is everything.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Because they got hands in everything. They just they'll let places like wherever they have like Liberia, they'll let them think that they control shit when they really don't. All of them are Masons and they get their law from Cornell University here. Mm-hmm. So do they really have independence? No, but they'll let the people think that they do. That's why all these other African countries are talking about Western imperialism. Because the United States is an empire.
Yeah.
Now, is the word empire bad? No. We had an empire. Is that bad? No.
No, not at all.
Right. So
that makes sense.
Political jurisdiction is the bounds of its citizens. That's it. Now, when you're talking specifically about the original 13 colonies, they agreed to a certain framework or a certain type of structure that they wanted, where it was a separation of powers to help balance things, so that way it wouldn't get to the point that it's at now. But we can't talk about the point that it's at now without talking about a slew of history. So the question isn't a simple question, because history is still being formed with every day. It's just we're not really taught that in school.
Right.
We're just taught the history of the United States, and then we're taught as if it's at its pinnacle now and everything's perfect. That's not how this works.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, any questions on that?
Not at the moment.
Political borders and jurisdiction and separation of powers. So,
I would just say that add that the difference would be subject matter between municipalities, federal, and what was the other one? State, I guess.
yeah, but that's the United States. We don't even have a separation of powers because we have no power. We are a stateless people.
Right.
Mars are stateless people.
Right.
Now, people are going to get mad, no, because we have a nationality. Okay, but do you know what a state is?
Right.
A state is not just dealing with a group of people bound together by common law. It's dealing with a group of people that's bound together by common law that's exercising some type of governmental powers.
Right.
We don't have that. So when we go to court and we say we're part of a nation, we're making statements, but we can't support those statements.
Right.
We can't support those claims, so we're considered stateless.
There was somebody in the comments, they were kind of supportive, but kind of trolling, not really helping and saying, like, what does that have to do with our empire? What does that have to do with our blah, blah, blah? First of all, our empire doesn't exist anymore, and we don't even have a government.
We don't have one municipality.
Right.
We don't have one city. We don't have one county. We don't have one state. Nothing. We have nothing. And I'm not talking about all these people claiming to be
separate, right?
Because you can't claim to be a government and then ask people to join.
Mm-hmm.
When have you ever heard of any government asking anyone to join it? Ever. In the history of ever.
Right.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. It's more so information. Some of them are trying to establish things. Some also just want to be the guy. And then you can tell based on their words and their works and their deeds that they don't know what the crap they're talking about. Excuse me. So we are a stateless people because we can't even revoke the treaty the right way. We can't.
What situation would you revoke the treaty?
You would have to have a sultan.
What would you
And
revoke
then
it for?
in the treaty, there's a time period where the sultan has to specify that the treaty is no longer valid. Mm-hmm. And the United States, we would have to come to the same table. The same way it was signed is the same way you would break it. Either that or straight up war. And we're not ready for either or.
Right.
So that's part of the reason why it's the longest unbroken treaty, because we can't do anything about it.
Even though they wage war against us. We aren't doing anything back, so really.
It's unbroken. We're just accepting it.
Right.
So it's not war.
No. It's
abuse.
Rapid dominance via shock and
awe. It's not war, it's abuse.
Yeah.
Once we start fighting back, then it becomes war. Right. Any questions?
Let me see.
On this?
Not yet. Grand Sheik Cujo says Islam.
Peace.
Somebody asked, when are we going to organize?
Well, we've been trying to for years. It's just, we can make statements like, we're going to do something every Sunday, and then we don't do it. Mm-hmm. Every Sunday.
As soon as all the Moors and all of the land of Amexem, the extreme West, decide to set a date to at least talk about a constitutional convention. Until then, we just organize separately.
Locally. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
That's what a state is. Just like Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. Those are 3 separate states. 3 separate jurisdictions. Right? Each jurisdiction was well established in its own right. Sui juris. Right? So more use words, I don't know what the fuck it means, right? Excuse my language. Which is sovereignty. Don't get it twisted. All 3 of them came together. Well, there's really 13 of them that came together. But just for the sake of keeping it simple, the 3 of them came together and said, we're gonna form a union. And between the 3 of our states, we're gonna have representatives from each of our states that's gonna speak for us to make sure that all the laws are common. So that way, not just one of us has ultimate power. If we can do that as Moors, then we'll actually have anything.
At
Once
least
we can do
if
that
we
with
have
one area,
with one state, right?
just
Create one
'cause
state.
if you're talking about a state, you're talking about municipalities under it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about thousands of more.
Mm-hmm. Once we can establish at least one state, we can move on to.
Yeah, but it says that in the Quran. It says that once a king is whatever, they go out and they establish new colonies. All the answers are there. It's just everyone wants to be the one government.
Mm-hmm.
When that's not how this works. We're a united people. We're United States. Not United States citizens as in the 13 colonies. United States as in the adjective united, lowercase u. States as in Moorish people, which makes it a national government. Because you can only be an official if you have a Moorish bloodline. It's not hard. It's not hard. It's not. It's not hard at all. At all. So all these people claiming to be governments, ain't nothing wrong with that. We're supposed to have multiple governments. They're called states. The problem is, they're saying, we're a government, we're an army, come join us. Well, then you're not a government. Because you would already have people that are being protected by your little army or whatever, that are paying taxes to you, so you wouldn't be dressed like that. You know what I mean? We wouldn't be in the situation that we're in. If everyone making claims online were actually serious about the claims that they're making. And if they were actually functioning as a government. Any questions? Because I can go in circles in this.
Well, I think some people want you to break it down even more. But also, someone asks, how about dealing with jurisdictions? The crime has to have a victim or damage. So if there's neither, but there's charges.
Elements of jurisdiction. We're just talking about jurisdiction itself.
Okay. They were saying, how do they challenge the charges of crime versus a status violation?
Versus a what violation?
Status.
I don't know what a status violation is. Never heard of that in my life. But, like you just said, if they're claiming that it's a crime, you state, well, according to State versus Edwards, in order for a crime to exist, there must be an injured party, so clearly there's no crime. Clearly it's a violation of my constitutional rights.
Right.
Therefore, this matter must be dismissed. And that's, you don't even have to say it the way I said it. You can just say, since there's no injured party, there's no crime. Since there's no crime, I shouldn't even be here, and you know that as a judge because you're obligated to know law. There is no how do you do it, you just do it. That's like saying, how do I paint a house? You take the paintbrush, you dip it in paint, and you smack it against the wall.
Yeah, but people just don't know where to find that information. You know, you just have to read the Constitution. You have to read.
Go to rvbaypublication.com and you'll find all the information you need.
Yep.
Literally.
We have no affiliation with them, but that's a really good website. They're basically an online university for free. Also read the general laws of the so-called state that you're in, as well as their court procedures, because that can also be used against them.
So when I hear what do you say in court, to me it sounds like, and I could be wrong, but to me it sounds like people are asking, what's the right thing to say to get them to dismiss it? And it's not about that.
There's no magic words.
We Moors are dealing with criminals who aren't abiding by the laws at all.
Right.
They're making things up as they go.
Right.
You know, they have a foundation that they stick to as far as a procedure, but it's up to their discretion, and it's up to, is that individual honorable or not? What side of history is that person on? You know, and then once you're actually living this life, then you'll see when Taj says that there's an actual civil war happening right now. You see it for yourself with your own eyeballs. But you have to have experience to see that. And then once you get the experience, you'll see, oh, now I see why Jamal's so frustrated. Now I see why Jamal says we need a militia. Now I see why there's nothing else to do except that, right? And then, right, because if Moors make statements as if doing A, B, C, D, and E is going to result in absolutely what you want. If that was the case, this video wouldn't need to exist. Because the Prophet already laid the foundation which means the United States should have just submitted and said, you know what, let's be hominid, dominus, good guys now. That's not the case. Which means we have to fight. And the more people ask the same questions of what do I need to say in court and how do I do this, the more they're going to get let down. And instead of them realizing that the oppressor's the problem, they're going to think, oh, more science is the problem. Because the path of least resistance is just naturally easy. So you'd rather give up than keep going. And that's just what it is.
Yeah.
And anyone not talking about the Second Amendment and actually enforcing the Constitution, not just with your words, but with bodies, they're playing you.
Yeah.
I don't care how good they look. I don't care how long they've been in more science. I don't care how beautiful they are, how handsome they are. I don't care. They're lying to you.
Right. And listening to people in lectures is great, but that's like, you know, when you go to a class and you only listen to what the teacher tells you and you never open the actual book, you're only going to get the depths of what that teacher knows or their opinions or what it is they want to talk about that day. Unless you actually read the book, or in this case, I'm using it like as a metaphor for the law. Unless you're actually reading the law, you're never going to get an understanding. It's not about listening to a lecture and being able to parrot that in court. It's listening to the points that you have to make, reading the law.
And the context, excuse me. Knowing the context.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know the historical context, then you don't know anything about law at all. You have to know why the treaty was signed.
Yeah, you have to know things for yourself.
You have to know what the political climate was when the treaty was signed.
Comprehend it for yourself.
You have to know what the political climate was before the treaty was signed. If you don't know those things, you don't comprehend the treaty. It's called the Treaty of Peace and Friendship for a reason. Because if there's no treaty, then there's no what? Peace or friendship, which means what?
War.
So to end that, they signed a peace treaty.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So to avoid this, you do this. Right? If this is broken, you automatically go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't go back to that, if you don't go back to this after peace is broken, then you just suffer.
Yeah.
Which means to endure pain. And then, since you're too much of a coward to go here, you say, Allah did it. Or, since you don't want to take action, you say, Allah's leading and victory is sure, so you don't have to do nothing. And that's just the truth. Like, I honestly don't know how to break it down any simpler than this. And this is just the simple, and I'm not even talking about the years and years and years of treaty history between us and the different European countries.
Mm-hmm.
This is just the basic principle of, it's called ipso jure. If we were actually connected to nature, then every time a more gets violated, that's automatically a declaration of war. And we would automatically be at arms. That's called ipso jure, by mere operation of law. That's what ipso jure means. Just like a beehive. If you pluck a beehive, guess what's happening?
You're getting messed up.
They're coming. They're coming for you hard. They don't care how many of them there are. They're coming.
Mm-hmm.
Because they believe in one thing. Themselves. They're not saying, oh, someone's outside plucking our beehive, and if we just pray to nature, then Allah will save us. And they're like this, looking outside. Wait, is Allah here yet? No? All right, let's go back. Allah, are you here? Nope. Then they're not in the beehive looking at you like, you going to go out there first? All right. They just all
pouring,
they come
dumping.
out, and whoever dies, dies.
Yeah.
That's nature.
And if they're bumblebees, you already know they sting once and they're dead, but they're gonna do it still.
Why? To preserve their what? Peace. You know what nature's peace treaty is? If you don't bother me, I don't bother you. You don't gotta sign nothing. It's just to help, for Moors that needed help. Our Sultan was like, because you already know, the government's supposed to reflect the will of the people. Our Sultan was like, okay, I'll establish this document so that way other Moors everywhere can refer to this document, and all I got to do is say that they're Moor, and that country knows if you violate this individual, hundreds and thousands of Moors are coming at your neck. Nobody wants that. That's what the treaty's for. To keep the hooligans at bay. It's not complicated. Mm-hmm. So if we don't even understand that, we can't talk about Rhode Island jurisdiction and Massachusetts jurisdiction. We can't even have that conversation. We don't even comprehend the umbrella that protects us. Because you still think that just because you're here, you're in Rhode Island. That's not how that works.
Someone had asked.
And it just hurts that I've been saying the same thing and people still asking these questions. Like, what information are you studying? Have you even studied? Or you just watch one video, then you move on to the next one? That's not studying. Because if I introduce something to you, you research it. You don't just, oh, Jamal said that last video. No, what am I saying to you? That's studying. Look up what I'm saying. Look up ipso jure. Don't just say, well, Jamal said ipso jure means by mere operation of law. What does by mere operation of law mean? That's a law of physics. That's physics. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That is physics. You see how jurisprudence is the observation of nature? Y'all see that, right? Right? If I say ipso jure means by mere operation of law, and I tell you physics means, or one law of physics is everything, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Can you see how that's connected?
Yeah.
By mere operation of law, something has to happen. That's if you're connected with the law. Because if I slap the shit out of you, by mere operation of law, I would expect for you to slap me back. But if you don't, you're violating that. That's your fault. Mm-hmm. So when Moors keep saying we're not in honor, they don't know that they're talking about this. Hold on, let me write it one more time.
Yeah, you need a new marker. Yeah, he does have more.
They think that it's some type of words we need to say. Do you think, honestly, think about this. If you're the prophet, you, the listener, if you're the prophet, right, and you have 3,000 people next to you at all times, surrounding you, protecting you, do you think somebody wants to smoke with you?
Not at all.
So you see how it was a little bit easier for the prophet to accomplish certain things in Chicago, since there's 3,000 people loyal to him? You get it?
Yeah.
So to avoid that, with these 3,000 people, they said, okay, Hamid is dominant, we'll let certain shit slide. Right? Meanwhile, COINTELPRO, behind closed doors, was plotting and infiltrating. Mm-hmm. So now it's a different level of war. It's espionage. Instead of just physical brute force, it's espionage now. And that's what we're suffering from today. Which is just a continuation of what has been happening against our people and their people. And everything in between, because some of our people are on their side.
Right.
Espionage.
Somebody made a comment saying that Rhode Island is the recognized government holding jurisdiction in the territory you're in, along with the federal United States. They're de facto.
Recognized by who? Because if you say recognized by them, well, then I recognize myself. So I'm the administrating body here. So what are you talking about? What they're talking about is what they're not going to say is via brute force, coercion, threat, and terrorism. Mm-hmm. I know. But that's what it is. Mm-hmm. Look at let's look at the Borgia Pope, right? Mm-hmm. How did he solidify his power? He went to war with people.
Yeah, and he bribed them.
So the city-state of Rome right now, that's not because they're hominis dominus. They got that via war. Mm-hmm. called the Holy Wars. And then they just lie to you and say it was about the Holy Land. No, it's about political and administrative jurisdiction over the world. That's it. But they know that most of our people aren't adult enough to handle that. So they say holy war against good and evil.
In the name of God.
Yeah, in the name of God. Who's God? Because God's not a noun.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Any other questions? Don't read any more trolls comments because that's just going to get me mad. And it's going to take away from the people that need the information because I'm mad.
Yodi made a statement saying that you're dealing with anti-positive law. Tribunals are not. Municipalities are not. They are operating as banks dealing with bonds and creditors, which is why they call them charges.
Yeah, but there's a lot of context being removed from that statement. Because if we form a municipality, what's wrong with a bank?
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nothing wrong with banks. What's wrong with charges? Ain't nothing wrong with that. It's just, it's benefiting them and not us. Why is it benefiting them and not us? Because we refuse to establish it. That's it. And then we're arguing about shit that we don't even have established yet. And don't believe me, look it up.
He says, I'm not saying he's wrong. What I'm saying is that people have the wrong concept and understanding of what they're entering into by appearing in their jurisdiction.
Yeah, but again, that's another statement without context. Context. Right? Because every time I make an appearance, it's not an appearance. It's a special appearance on a threat, duress, and coercion. Why is it threat, duress, and coercion? And why is it a special appearance? It's a special appearance because I'm going saying you don't have jurisdiction over me, you're violating my rights. Why is it on a threat, duress, and coercion? Because every time they send something in the mail to me, they say if I don't show up, I'm going to go to jail. So they're threatening me.
Mm-hmm.
Me showing up doesn't give them jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
If that was true, why is Rashad out of jail right now?
Mm-hmm. He was in jail and got himself out of jail. No cash bond. Actual jail, not just a holding cell.
So it's degrees of information. People will get the crumbs and think it's the whole loaf.
Right.
We have to have context. I keep saying the wrong word. Context. We have to have history. We have to have the full picture of things. We have to. Because if we don't, we're just going to be lost. Right? Because if we go to federal court, is that submitting to them?
Nope.
It depends. See? I was being very general. Because if you go to them and you make an appearance, yes.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
But if you go to them and make a special appearance, no.
It is being general. All right.
And if you go there to the law library, definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. All right.
Context is everything.
That's key. Yeah. All right.
Right? This is why they try to put the context on you as possession of a dangerous weapon. When it wasn't possession of a dangerous weapon, you were just bearing arms.
Mm-hmm.
They try to make the context seem negative law, to charge you with an offense.
Yeah.
Can I have you hold this for a minute? I need to move. But I just want to slide this out of the way.
Right.
Don't get the
Which, if we were in power, we would be doing the same thing.
Just hold it for a few minutes and I'll
Well,
take it
similar
back. I
things.
just need a break. Tired.
Because if any more has actually been to court, you'll know that there's actually people that have committed crimes that are there.
Right.
And justice has to be served. And since we refuse, since we rather do mock court instead of establish an actual court, they have to do it.
Right.
So who's wrong? We are. Because there's people trafficking children. There's people selling hard drugs that are actually bad. There's people that are stealing. Who's gonna bring those people to jail? Or who's gonna have trial against those? We can't. We're over here claiming to be a government with no courts, with no judges.
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna prosecute these people? So now there's gonna be chaos until we figure this out. That's not how the civilized planet works. people aren't just sitting back with their feet up waiting for the Moors to get this shit together. They're doing what they can. So if you honestly look at the United States, right? Although they're abusing us, they're still bringing people to jail that deserve to be in jail. So are they good or are they bad? So now it's objective or subjective. That's why I said peace earlier. Remember, peace is either objective or subjective. Right? Because there's people that you can call them today and they say, yeah, the courts really helped me out. That judge really helped me out. So let's stop acting like this is just a blanketed thing where all of them are bad. Where de facto means bad, because that's not what it means.
It just means in fact.
It just means in fact. Because we, de facto, don't have shit. That's bad. Because we have big claims. We're a nation, we're a government, we're an empire, right? Big ass claims, no proof, no substance, nothing, just words. If we were a government, an empire, a nation, we would have one municipality, a bare minimum, that's minimum. Because with a municipality, guess what we can establish? A city-state.
You can zoom in and out too.
But people, you know what I mean? Like this stuff is, in theory, simple. But in application, as far as getting people to agree and getting organized, it's damn near impossible. Because everyone got an ego on a million. And we could look at us, and I love using us as an example. We're a prime example. Rise of the Moors, prime example. How many times have we said, we're going to go to the adverse possessed property to do something, and we're going to commit these days to doing it, and we haven't done it? Is that one person's fault?
No.
Absolutely not. It's all of our faults. Right? Because we can't say, Jamal, you're the leader, and then I make a statement of we have to be there on these days, and then you don't show up. Well, then obviously I'm not your leader. Right? And since it's voluntary, I can't force you to show up. I just better not hear no complaining. Right? Because if you got a broken leg and the doctor says put a splint on it and you don't, whose fault is that? Is it the doctor's fault? No. Right? Even better stressed out. So let's talk about something more positive than us lacking everything. Let's talk about this book right here. This book is called The Sultan of America: Moroccan Treaties with Various European Crowns, 15th to the 18th century. This is a short book. Part of the reason why I wrote this book, there's two reasons. One, my fourth book got destroyed, and I wasn't about to. It was more about the structure of our government, and I had put in probably about 6 months worth of work and research into that book, and then it got destroyed. So out of 141 pages, I had 36 pages that I was able to recover. So I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that again. I'll just leave that in here. And then I'll put the structure in the organization. So that way, you know, the people of the next generations can see, okay, this is what was established, right? Which I really didn't even create it. I just based it off of Noble Drew Ali. So anyway, and the other reason was based off a comment on Instagram. I was triggered because it was stupid. And I have a problem with stupidity because stupidity doesn't rule the world, and stupidity is going to affect the next generations negatively, right? So someone stated that Moors cannot prove that the Sultan of Morocco had jurisdiction here in America because there's no treaty between Morocco and the United States prior to 1786.
The United States.
You don't say nothing. Right? So now, If you don't know history, and the only one treaty you know is of 1786, then you're going to be like, oh, damn, you know what? You're right. But let me tell you what you're missing. One, you're missing the United States wasn't formed until 1774.
I was gonna.
Which
answer
means what?
that.
The Sultan had treaties with different European crowns. Why? Because the Moors were trafficking Europeans from Europe to Africa to America as slaves. Those European crowns wanted their subjects free. So those European crowns, such as King James I, spoke to the Sultan of Morocco to free English subjects and have free trade within Morocco.
So those English subjects.
Which
just
resulted
served
in
them.
Jamestown, Virginia. That was the first colony here, the first free colony. Based on a treaty between who? The Sultan of Morocco
King James.
and King James I of England. So that's a treaty right there that applied here. But if you don't know that history, then you're going to say, oh yeah, the 1786 treaty, there's nothing before that with the United States. Huh, yeah, that means the Moors weren't here. Huh, you big dummy. Which means you don't even know your own history. Your own, not mine. Your own history. To make a statement as if we're Indians and not Moors. What are you talking about? Because even when you study Indian treaties, they're Moorish treaties under a different name. Word for word, they're the same thing, the same context. And you don't have to believe me, it's in the book. Let me see if I can find one real fast. Oh, here's one. Here's a great one.
You like the.
Pages down.
If there's something you have to take, you can just look. Not that you have the pages, but IDs.
Oh, look right here.
If it's like a troll or something.
This is page 11 of my book. It's Morocco and the Netherlands Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1610, which resulted in an embassy in 1640. Hidden as the Indian Two-Row Wampum Treaty, 5 nations or the Haudenosaunee, which led to the Dutch fur trade with the Lenape in 1624. All right. So they'll also refer to this as the Lenape Treaty of 1610. But then when you go to Delaware, in the Delaware Code, I think it's chapter 29, right? Subsection 106, it says the former name of the Lenape is Moors. So they didn't do a fur trade with the Indians. They did a fur trade with Morocco. And then if you look at the same time period, you'll see Morocco-Dutch treaty. And you'll see fur trade. So at the same time, the same exact time, either this is a coincidence or these people are Moors. So you're telling me at the same time, Morocco and the Indians both had a treaty with the Dutch for fur trade?
And here?
At Morocco? Where are they getting fur from Morocco? Camels? Because you think Morocco over there, right? So where are they getting fur from? In the desert. What animal has fur in the desert?
When camels are native to North America, anyway.
Which is where? North America. You know what I'm saying?
Still blows my mind.
Right?
The camel thing.
So they'll make statements like, oh yeah, there's no, and then they'll be like this. There's no treaty prior to 1786 that proves that the Moors were here in America. And then knowing our people don't know this stuff, they don't even know what to look up. The Moors that are just waking up are going to believe it. That's why you're hearing me on video getting angry, calling them fucking stupid and dumbasses and shit like that. Because they're destroying any potential of the new Moors waking up to finding the real information. Simply because they want to be somebody. They want to be the right guy. They want to be the person on social media. For what? So, you'll get a few F words out of me, and then I'll say, go look at the diplomatic relations between Morocco and several European countries, and there's your history right there. And then I'll get frustrated when you ask me specific questions because I already know you didn't do the research. Which is the problem, because everyone doing the research is what's going to get us out of this. So to make it easier, I'll do things like, here's a short book, read it. And then cross-reference everything I said, and then prove it, and then do a book report on why it's wrong. And then as you're doing a book report on why it's wrong, you'll just keep proving that it's right. And then you'll have a foundation or a basis upon which you can show your children and your cousins and your nieces and nephews, this is how you do research, this is how you find out who you are. You do a comparative analysis of different stuff, which is going to take time. So instead of you drinking and partying every day, guess what you have to do?
Study.
Make your eyes bleed from reading books. That's status. You think I just found this by just saying, let me just Google. Let me Google the hidden connection between Indians and Moors.
And that goes for
Via
case
diplomatic
law.
correspondence, when half of these treaties are hidden.
Right.
Or you gotta pay some university for your own history. Nah.
Same for case law, res judicata, and like general laws. Jen, how long did it take me to look up those like 4 things to tell Rashad? For Massachusetts, like, you know, you have to read through a whole mess of all of the criminal procedures and all of the general laws and whatever you can find. Just read until you get what you need. Because Jamal, how do you think he finds case law?
Yo, how do you think I found Craig versus Missouri and Peoples versus
Exactly.
the city of Detroit? I was reading for hours, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And that's stuff people don't see. They just think, I don't know what they think.
Jamal just knows this for some reason.
No, I don't just know it. I just, based on what I know, that helps me know what to look for.
Right.
And then the more I look for, the more I know what to search for. I didn't just automatically know. Let me look between the diplomatic correspondences between Morocco and European crowns. I heard that from Taj years ago and Abdullah years ago.
Right.
And that's in one of Abdullah's books.
His Moors and Masonry.
Yeah. So to substantiate on that, I just wanted to connect that between the Indian stuff. To sweep away the garbage that we're Indians because we're not Indians. Because that's one of the biggest, besides black, that's the other biggest mental block. Because the blacks will wake up and then think that they're Indians.
Not to confuse, Native American with Indian, to be clear, because, people...
Hindustani, yeah.
Well, no,
so look,
the terms.
People argue the terms all the time and they don't even... All right, let's stop being stupid for a second. Not to say you're stupid.
No,
right?
I'm saying it for a reason.
Let's look at this.
Oh, that one's way better.
It's brand
Throw
new.
that other trash one in the garbage.
This means, guess what this means? So if you're born on American soil, you're Native American. Does that make your nationality American?
No,
As far as the different nations on America? No, absolutely not.
because Europeans are born here and they're not natives.
No, they are born.
Well,
That's what native means.
They're born here,
To
but
be born.
they aren't American by nationality. Is what I
Exactly.
meant to say.
See the difference? But they're gonna act like this means something completely different. They're gonna say this is bad and this is good. When this was created from the office, excuse me,
Defense or war or something.
no, it was
like
from the
that?
War Department.
Yeah.
And in case law will say that Indians are wards.
Words of the state.
This the War Department had the Office of Indian Affairs. Which then changed into the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And it was under the executive branch. This wasn't something that they just created for Indians' benefit. I was about to insult you. My bad. You silly gooses.
I like the PG version.
This is a whole war strategy. And if you go to caselaw.findlaw.com and you
That
look
puts
up
you
and
in
you
their
look up
jurisdiction.
Supreme, hold on, if you look up Supreme Court and you type in the phrase, because you can do key searches, Indian wards, at least 10 cases are going to pop up proving that Indians are wards of the United States. They're not citizens. They just cover up the wardship status by saying, you're second-class citizens. To make you feel good about the phrase citizen still in there. You're a ward. It don't matter if you were born here or somewhere else. Because if you've got U.S. papers attached to you, you're a ward. Unless you climb their little ladder of crap. Then you're just a ward that worked hard. Alright, so don't think that claiming to be Native American means something. Because Europeans are Native Americans. They're born here. Does that give them bloodline ties to the land? Absolutely not. Because if you're born in China, you're native Chinese or you're native Asian. What's your bloodline? Whatever your parents are. So don't get that twisted. That's why language is so important. Stop listening to what people tell you words mean. Look it up.
And not just look it up from one place.
Yeah,
Cross-reference
cross-reference.
different books and
Look up its etymology.
yeah.
Right? This is a Latin word. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, we're not Indians.
different treaties.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go over all of them. You gotta buy the book, or just do the research for yourself. Don't even buy my book. Do the research yourself. Although this is a great book. This is other books you can get.
Anything else on how to apply jurisprudence?
Yeah, read books. White Slaves, African Masters by Paul Beepler. Christian Slaves, Muslim Masters by Robert C. Davis. White Cargo by Don Jordan and Michael Walsh. They Were White and They Were Slaves by Michael Hoffman II. The Crescent Obscured by Robert J. Allison. Golden Age of the Moor by Ivan van Sertima. And you'll see that Moors trafficked Europeans for about 5 centuries everywhere, which is how they got here. Then you'll see the English, several English crowns, well, the European crowns, wanted their people free, so they paid the Moors or fought against the Moors to have their subjects freed. Those free subjects then established commercial colonies. Those commercial colonies then fought against their respective crowns. It's called the American Revolution. Then they united. It's called the Articles of Association, and then the Articles of Confederation. Then they further developed their 13 united colonies, solidified their union, and called themselves the United States. What does that have to do with Moors, besides the fact that we freed them? And they're on our land. How can you be a citizen of that? Unless you agree. Unless you denounce your Moor citizenship and join them. Which you can do that. Just don't complain about your mistreatment. It's either you provide for yourself or you don't. That's it. There's no, if I say the right words in court, then all my problems are going to go away. There's no, if I say I'm a Moor real hard, then I won't be abused. That's not how this works.
There's still an inquisition against the Moors.
So, we can talk about jurisprudence and talk about the courtroom all day, but what about when it doesn't work in the courtroom? What about that? Because that's jurisprudence.
Right.
That's jurisprudence.
just like lawyers that work for the United States, they can use the same argument for every case. And theoretically, they should win every case using the same argument. But it doesn't happen that way. They win some and they lose a lot.
No, they don't. They cut deals.
Yeah.
Which isn't winning or losing.
Well,
it's no contest.
The people that they're representing,
yeah. Because there's no contest.
The people that they represent lose a lot and they win
some. No, they agree.
They agree
I hear what you're saying.
A lot of them agree based on
but you're making a
ignorance.
moral argument. It doesn't matter. Even so, the law is no excuse. Because if everyone's in the street screaming Black Lives Matter and end tyranny and end racism, systematic racism, right? That's what they're saying in the streets. And then they're going into the system and they're agreeing. Well, you agree. Because you out there marching and praying saying you know something's wrong, but you're participating still. So your moral argument doesn't apply to that. Because they're agreeing. Right? We can talk about an abusive relationship, right? It doesn't matter the gender that's doing the abusing. We can all agree that it's wrong. Mm-hmm. But if the person being abused stays, what do we eventually deduce from that? That's what they want. Mm-hmm. They could leave. It might be hard. No one's saying it's easy. Mm-hmm. No one's saying it's easy. But the only solution is to leave. That's it. So now if they stay, whose fault is that?
Theirs.
All right. So now we're being abused, right? Every day. All of our top scholars are saying they're waging war against Morocco. They're waging war against the Moors. It's the war against the Moors. They're criminals. It's the war against the Moors. It's the war against the Moors. So what are we doing? That's what the top scholars are saying, right? The top Moorish scholars, the big names.
Right.
That's what they're saying. So where's the Moorish janissaries at? Since we don't like the word militia, we'll say janissary.
I was gonna say they're arguing against the militias and bearing arms because.
Which means they don't agree with the top scholars that they claim to love.
Exactly.
They disagree with them. They don't believe in anything that they're saying. Because everything that they're saying points to stopping the oppression. There's only one way to do it. And verily I say unto you, it's not via words alone. Ask any country that's gotten their independence. Mm-hmm. They got it via talking. Matter of fact, there was an entire convention that the 13 colonies had before they were established colonies against Britain. They said, we tried speaking to them, we tried diplomatic correspondences, we tried sending liaisons to preach peace, we tried this, we tried that, we tried this, we tried that, we tried this, we tried that, we tried this and we tried that. And right now, the only option is war. Mm-hmm. And guess what happened as a result of that war? They got independence. They got independence and sovereignty and absolute power, and now they have an empire. So they tried words, they tried talking. They tried dealing with things as civilized human beings, mm-hmm. and then it didn't work for them. So guess what they did? War. Is that because they wanted to, and they're domestic terrorists, and they were overthrowing the established order of Great Britain over them? Or was it their natural human right to self-govern? Which one was it? Because I'm pretty sure back then there were people saying, don't war against Britain because they'll send you to their jails. Mm. Don't do that against Britain because they got all the horses and they got all the rifles and they got all the cannons. Guess who won that war? You don't have to guess. Everyone already knows it. But look at us.
And there were a lot less people in the United States colonies than there are in Britain.
Look at us. We're claiming, look at all the stuff that our people claim. Right? They're one with Allah, right? That's what they claim. They're one with their ancestors, right? That's what we've heard that. They're spiritual, right? They're aligned their chakras, right? They do their little yoni scheme, right? So they're pure. They got their CMOS, right? They're one with Allah. They're one with the cosmos. They're one with the universe, right? That's what they claim. They're connected with all the gods and the goddesses and the ancestors and the Kemet and the woke Kemet Egyptology wokeness, right? Why are they scared to fight? Matter of fact, let's not even talk about fight, because fighting might result in dying. Why are they afraid to establish any type of organization with their own people? How many times have we said, well, we don't really know that person, so we don't trust them? I thought we were woke. So we'd be able to tell, all right, this person's funny, that person's not.
Mhm.
If we're so woke, we can see that, right? Because we got what? Foresight, we got intuition, right?
Mhm.
So we would be able to maneuver through this with no problem. So why are we still in the situation that we're in? If everyone did their full moon rituals, right? Their new moon rituals all over Instagram, right? Go to certain people's pages, you'll see 3 years ago they talk about manifestation there or whatever they're trying to manifest. Where's it at?
Mm.
Let's be honest with ourselves. But it's hard to do that. And I'm telling you, as an individual, as a human being, it's hard to do that. With myself, within myself, me.
Not to say that you can't do certain things, you just have to have a certain commitment.
And that's where the will
Right.
of Allah comes into play.
Right.
Where they talk about, Jesus talks about the resurrection. Once your will matches Allah's will, the resurrection is possible. So whatever you're trying to resurrect within yourself, or as a Moorish nation, our will has to reflect that.
Mhm.
So all these Moors talking about a government, you have to pay taxes if you want it. If you don't, that's fine. Just don't say you need a government.
And don't say you need help.
Facts. Same thing for anyone who claims to be part of Rise of the Moors. Everyone knows we got the adverse possessed property. What are we doing with it?
And the land.
What are we doing with that?
We need the will of the people. It doesn't just mean the few people that are here. It means,
A lot. A lot more than 10 people, I can tell you that.
yeah. Are there questions?
Nothing worth.
Are you looking at
Bring it up.
questions?
No, I'm looking at Shuzo posted said stop scrolling, I love you. Says that Georgia.
Which one are you just pointing at?
Oh, no, I was just saying nothing that's worth like bringing
Oh,
up.
okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot of statements.
Yeah.
Um, the person asked a question and answered it.
Yeah. That's I seen that too, and I was just like, I'm not going to answer their own question.
Sorry, are you hurting holding like this?
No, I'm good.
All right, no. Anybody have questions? Feel free to type them in the comments now. So you kind of covered directly and indirectly how to apply jurisprudence because you went over the 3 primal issues of law. So based on those 3 primal issues of law, whether it's status,
Salute.
thank you, adjudication, or jurisdiction. Sorry, I'm so
So,
tired. I'm getting somewhere with this.
It will never get to adjudication because the
Adjudication,
Moorish
excuse
nation
me.
is not established. In order for any type of cases to adjudicate between Moors, there has to be competent consuls, and consuls don't get appointed by themselves. There's like if you look at any embassy of the United States, the president appoints people, and then those people appoint people, competent people, not just anyone who claims that they were Moor yesterday and they're still developing and they're still growing. Nah, people that know already. We don't have that at all. We don't even have one institution to teach our people anything. As far as we'll take you from 0 to adding. We don't have any schools that are giving our people associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees and master's degrees and doctorates. We don't have that. So if we don't have that, how can we possibly have a consul or a consulate? How? How can there be a sultan if no one's teaching the people what jurisprudence is? From 0 to adept. We're over here being delusional based on our ideals. And not looking at reality. And then if you look at our people, a lot of our people, when they escape reality, they drink a lot, they smoke a lot, and then to make an excuse, they say, well, the herb is for the healings of the nations, and they're just leaving reality.
And then, you know.
Because if it's healing you, why do you need it every day? Unless you have a chronic illness, then say that. Say you have a chronic ailment that you need to use this every day. Don't just say it's for the healing of the nations. What are you healing? And don't say anxiety, because you can breathe through that. Don't say stress, because you can breathe through that too. So it's just so spiritual, okay?
A lot of our delusions too are over, like, you know, Moors will get so focused on, oh, well, they don't have jurisdiction and blah, blah, blah. You're forgetting the entire de facto issue there, in fact. So you can say everything you want. They don't have jurisdiction. You're giving up jurisdiction by showing up. We shouldn't even be going to their courts. We shouldn't even. What are your solutions? Instead of just saying those things. Because they are in fact. Even if they are de facto, they are still in fact. So guess what? Guess who's coming to you? Guess who's smashing your door over some fake misdemeanor charges?
Because it's color of law. It's the appearance of law. It's criminal behavior. And instead of dealing with criminals how you deal with criminals, we're going to say hominis dominus, Islamism, we did something wrong. Because we don't want to fight them. Because we'll read about David and Goliath, but we don't want to be David. Mm-hmm. We want to act like we're David online, but in real life, we don't want to be David. Think about how many Moors would have folded in your situation, Rashad. Think about it.
Absolutely.
You might not be able to fathom it because you're a warrior, so you have to defend yourself. But imagine you're not you. Right? Imagine the infinitely vast types of personalities are out there. Some people just aren't naturally warriors, and that's fine.
Or
they would have folded.
The fear in your mind.
The fight or flight would have happened, and they would have had no choice but to fight.
Yeah.
So think about the ratio of how many Moors would have actually fought. Because like I said, I have a cousin who was, we're Moor, you know, same Moor gang and all that, rising of Moorish, national, pulled over, driving out a license, folded, foldable chair.
Yeah.
Petrified.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to all that woke and Ankh and Kemet and Egyptology? What happened to all that? Driving without a license? That's it? That's it? And you're like, oh, birthright? What are you talking about? So let's be serious.
Yeah.
We talking about we're going to get out of this? Okay. Some of us are going to get out of this. Maybe. if we're lucky.
And then, you know, sometimes with people in more severe situations, they're also coerced to get a lawyer. The judges won't even consider doing anything.
I don't know about that. I can't speak on that.
Well, I mean, there's a few people
maybe denationalized Moors, but not no competent nationalized Moors. Huh?
Obviously, I'm trying not to say names.
I know I didn't catch that.
Remember they did something to somebody?
I don't know what you're saying. Let's just move past that.
But we have to deal with the fact that they are de facto and they are terrorists.
Yeah, but we don't want to deal with that fact.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we say things like, send them a letter and it's gonna go away. That's not how this works, yo. That's not how this works. Because if that was true, you know how many letters different Moors claim to be government have sent to the United States? I personally sent one. Mm-hmm. So if all we had to do is send that, I'm good. I should be good right now. You should be good right now. That should never happen because I already sent the letter.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I wrote the letter that the consulate sent. And the only other person that added to it was Taj Street Bey himself. So if that didn't end this, best believe letters ain't stopping nothing. And before the consulate was established, Taj already wrote a letter in 2011. And before Taj was the prophet. So, what are you talking about? Send paperwork and you'll be fine in court. Come on, let's be serious. Let's be serious. We're gonna have to defend ourselves. What? Why is that so? What is wrong with that?
People don't want the responsibility.
Fathomed.
Then there's people who say that the United States is just paper terrorists.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's not get into that because that's just a whole level of that's just a
Ignorance.
No, that's not ignorance. That's delusion.
Yeah.
That is delusion. There are thousands of people that their heart is pumping and they're scared when policy enforcers get behind them. That's not paper terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
That has nothing to do with paper.
Mm-hmm.
So that's straight up delusional. And it's sad, and I wish no ill will upon them, but it's sad that they think just because they're not in any predicament now, that they're protected.
Mm-hmm.
And they really think that. And that's not what that means. That just means you're good right now. But like the prophet said it, not me. There's gonna come a time when the Europeans let you down, and you're don't call me for no help, because I keep a log of people that said some crap about me. Best believe I'm not answering that call. You're not my brother. The prophet said, "Don't forsake my brother." You're not my brother, because if you was my brother, you would never said what you said. So, may peace be unto you. And there's I have no type of attachment to that, as if I'm doing something wrong. I help people all the time. So, don't come at me with stones, and then when you're in trouble, you want to reach out with the olive branch. Nah, I'm allergic to those kind of olives.
Mm-hmm.
Those turn bitter real fast.
Those are toxic.
Yeah.
And manipulative.
Now people really need to open their eyes. They need to I honestly don't know what they're doing. I mean, I can see some of the things, like some people are delusional, some people are feared, some people just want to be somebody, some people just want to seem intelligent. You know, I can see some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other things I can't see, like what?
We have to stop, like, as soon as we get bits of information, we have to stop going online and acting like I'm holier and molier than thou.
Yeah, but it says that in the Quran.
I know, online, and then off camera or off social media, you're asking, you know, the Moors that are out in the forefront for help because you don't know what to do. But it's like, you talk this big game as if you know exactly what's going on, and you're right, but then you realize that it's not working, and when the curtain's closed, you're like, hey, I need help. Like, that has to stop. We have to... Jen, what questions do you have?
Any
No.
specific?
Yeah, about anything. It doesn't have to be like... Any questions in the comments? Any people who
So,
have
in general,
questions?
law is used to maintain peace. Does that mean everyone's going to abide by law? Absolutely not.
Mhm.
So what do you do when people aren't abiding by the law? There's only a few things you can do. You can try going through the courts, whether it be their courts, our courts, the International World Court, whatever you want to call it. You can try doing that. But then when that fails, what do you do? There's only one alternative.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there's two. Submit
Mm-hmm.
or fight. That's it. And if you're submitting, I better not hear you complaining
Right.
at all. Because if we're talking about laws of nature and you're talking about fight or flight, it's either you're fighting or you're fleeing. And don't come to me with that fleeing shit. Because I don't have a choice in this.
Might as well leave a carbon button on the table.
Yep.
Yeah.
I definitely don't have a choice in this. And that's just my zodiac. That's just how I was born. So I don't have time for none of that fear shit. Because I'm already afraid enough. Naturally.
Right.
So don't bring extra fear around me. Nah, get out of here. And don't bring masking my fear with overcompensation, because I can see that shit too. And let's believe you will be called out on it, either directly or indirectly in front of everybody. And ask them. I don't care.
How do you put together a constitutional convention?
That is a great question. So this is what you would need. We're gonna call states of Moors groups. Right? So we're calling, well-organized Moors groups. So group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, group 5, group 6. Each one of these groups would have to send a representative that represents their entire body to this convention. They would talk about, they would propose what they want in the Constitution. So Moors would propose things like, we don't want Moors who have European mothers to be considered Moors. Right, so let's say group 1 says that. Then group 2 would say, I don't agree with that. Then group 3 would say whatever it is they want to say. Then whoever these delegates established as a chairman, that chairman would say, okay, we're gonna hold off on that. Each of y'all go to your respective states or your respective groups and talk about what was proposed to your groups, and then we'll get a consensus, we'll get a vote from the groups. Then everyone will talk, then they'll argue about, no, that's right, no, that's wrong, 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 da 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 da, until we all come together in a long time frame and say, okay, on this one law, this is what we're voting on. And then we'll do that for every single law.
Individuals of each group would vote, right?
Yeah, but each delegate would represent, let's say there's 3,000 Moors here.
So you're saying there would be
And
like
4,000
an electoral
more here.
college?
Yeah, and 5,000 Moors here, 6,000 Moors here. But it depends. Hold on, my bad. 7,000 Moors here. Let's say there's 1,000 Moors here, right? We wouldn't necessarily have to establish an electoral college. We can just say the majority of delegates that we propose to this body reflects the vote of the people. There is no we have to have an electoral college or we don't. It's whatever we want.
Right, because
That's what
even
makes
if
it
we
so
even if we
you know.
do have an electoral college, we could make it so that they have to vote the way that
The people vote. Yeah.
the people vote.
Yeah.
That's not what the United States has, but
Or we can just get rid of the electoral college and each 3,000 people would vote, 4,000 people
Right.
would vote, then have it like that. That's just
Right.
a lot more ballots to count.
right.
Which at least that reflects the will of the people.
Mhm.
That's in theory. This would have to be like at least 6 months
To establish an
to just
actual-
establish this, let alone these.
Yeah, how do you establish the groups?
That's what we're trying to do here. It's damn near impossible.
Right. Well, the groups could be like different temples or different organizations like United Res Publica, Grand Sheik Cujo's temple, Rise of the Moors people, just like that, MST of A, and those would be the different groups.
Yeah, but then we would have
As
to
examples,
then we would
right.
have to state whether or not corporations can vote. Because Rise of the Moors is a corporation. So is it the Rise of the Moors organization itself or the people of the organization? Which one is it? Because if you say that, I'm going to vote however I want to vote because I'm the founder of it. Is that going to reflect his vote? Is that going to reflect the majority vote?
Well,
Maybe, maybe not. So all of that would have to be, all of that. Not just my ideals and opinions. Every Moor that brings something to the table. It wouldn't just be one person saying some shit and then that's what it is. No, because best believe Moreno Bay is arguing. Best believe. And best believe if I hear some dumb shit and it's about what's the word? The success or whatever word I'm looking for, of our nation, best believe I'm saying something. If in this convention there isn't a national defense budget talked about, I'm leaving. Yeah, this ain't for me. Cause y'all tripping. Y'all about to die ASAP. Talk all the convention you want. Let somebody try to come with you with arms. You're folding. Quit. You're not punching faster than a bullet. You're not drinking sea moss faster than a bullet. You're not yoni steaming faster than a bullet. You're not filing paperwork faster than a bullet. You're not praying faster than a bullet. You might start to travel fast, but you probably won't even know because you'll be dead. And by that time, I'll be out the building. And then if at this convention we're not talking about how we're going to raise finance, I'm definitely leaving. And if anyone says we own anything that the U.S. has, I'm definitely leaving. Because if we did, we wouldn't need this. That's just me personally. But, this is just an idea of how it could work because it's been proven over time. Not because it's my idea. Because this represents the independence of each group of Moors. And we have historical reference points to go to.
For conventions.
Yeah. For any type of convening of any, even a corporation, it's the same concept. A board of directors is Congress. It's a convention. Every time they meet, they convene. It's a convention. That's why Noble Drew established the Moorish Science Temple of America to teach people how this happens via the temples. Because the same way Walmart is ran is the same way Congress is ran. And that's not a bad thing. Because they run successfully. That means it's a good thing. So the Prophet said, I'm trying to make y'all into better citizens. So he taught, law, order, and governmental principles. So there was a chairman to make sure, the proceedings are going according to orders. There was a sergeant at arms to make sure that the delegates of the meeting weren't threatening each other and doing crazy stuff. So the sergeant at arms was the big guy, like, hey, you gotta get the F out of here. This is determining the balance of our nation. What you trying to fight for? What are you fighting for? Get him out of here. And then if there's not a quorum, there's no quorum because so and so is bugging. So we gotta reconvene until next month. So nothing was accomplished. So again, our will determines this. It's a battle.
Like there could be one year that everybody decides instead of on the Prophet's birthday we have a ball or whatever, like some people do, we decide to come together and establish a convention, the first one, and that's just to talk about certain things, and then nothing is being voted on, we just have to talk about it, and then now more people know because the first one passed, maybe not everybody found out about it. Okay, here's the date for the second one, the next year or something. And at least that would be a start.
That's
Instead of just coming together for a party and to eat and just be in the presence of other Moors, which is great. I'm not knocking that. It's just we need more than.
The United Republic of Morocco is supposed to be this. That's what their goal is. Based on what I've heard them say, this is what their goal is.
Any questions?
I'm still seeing statements. Let me look.
Any more questions on this, Mark?
Has there been any constitutional conventions amongst the Moors?
Not to my knowledge.
Unless it was while the Prophet was alive, which.
And not on the scale that's required for an actual constitutional convention. Because we're talking about millions of Moors. There's a lot of Moors.
Yeah, a lot of declared Moors throughout the country.
Yeah, let alone denationalized Moors.
Amongst the continent, excuse me.
So I do know that, and I only know this from Cujo, that there was like a treaty that certain Moors signed with each other. But, that's not a convention. That's not a constitutional convention.
I was going to say about that.
And the amount of groups, that was just an example, right?
Yeah.
There could be 100 of
But,
groups.
I mean.
Because, the jurisdiction of a state varies.
Yeah.
Rhode Island is the smallest state, but they have a right within the United States framework to have their delegates cast their vote.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it means something.
Yeah.
They're not wrong.
So we could have, let's say we had 500 Moors here. We can call ourselves a state, as long as we're organized like one.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's say we're just in the city of Pawtucket alone. Let's say there's Moors in Providence. They want to be called a state. We have to respect that. So we can either say, okay, we're going to recognize each other as separate states, or we can come together and try to form one big state. And if we have two separate states, fine. We'll send a representative from our delegation, you from yours, and they'll go to the Constitutional Convention. So that way we don't got to argue.
Somebody had asked about Sharon and why she's still in jail. And,
Because you haven't joined any organization to help get her out, whether it be via paperwork or by force of arms.
also,
That's it.
you know, there was a lot of things being said by Sharon at the time that was incorrectly being taught to people, and they believed it, such as if you lean the straw man, they can't arrest you, or, you know, being arrested and thinking that repeating a mantra is going to save you. None of those things
Excuse me.
are going to
So
work.
let's look at this. Let's look at the severity of Rashad Bey's charges and the severity of Sharon's charges.
Can you go over Sharon? I don't know who that is.
So Sharon Tracy Gill Bey was one of the founding members of the Moorish American Consulate. Basically, her house got unlawfully and illegally foreclosed on, which is estate embezzlement. She was still there. They turned her power off, so she was powering her house with gas generators and propane tanks.
Off the grid, essentially.
Off grid, yeah, which is completely legal. And the Europeans were threatening to force her out. So her being part of the consulate, and the consulate was booming at the time, a bunch of Moors showed up to support.
The consulate was booming because it was a lot of new Moors who didn't realize that the judges and the people on the consulate were incompetent.
Yeah.
And they weren't
booming because of success. They
Right.
were booming because of, it was a feel-good movement of, we got judges, we got consuls, we're going to hold these people accountable, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. It was a bunch of that.
And these judges and a lot of these people were also self-appointed.
No, they were voted. They were voted. Because for the consulate started as the restoration of the Moorish American Consulate.
Yeah, but I thought
And
Sharon
whoever
wasn't a judge.
participated,
Didn't she place herself as a judge?
There was. All right, let me go over this.
Okay.
It was the what the fuck what did I just say?
Language.
The restoration of the consulate. So there was a bunch of people. It was open for everybody. Anybody can come and participate. And in the beginning, all of the meetings were open to the public because you have the right to cast your free national ballot. So it was open to the public. It's just the public didn't participate. That's not their fault. That's not their fault.
Right, just like
Right,
at
so-
these city halls when they have all these meetings
Exactly.
about the budgets
Exactly.
and budget
So
cuts,
nobody,
and you don't show
and I'm
up.
telling you I was there. I was there. I was on the calls, right? We had a vote. We all voted who we wanted the consular general to be. Taj won. Taj then appointed people to judge and consul. That's how that works. The elected person appointed. That's how government works. The people that didn't participate in that on the outside were saying everybody was self-appointed because they didn't participate. So of course, if you know nothing about it, you're going to say whatever you want. Whatever assumptions you have, that's what you're going to say.
There were some people that were appointed to certain positions, but then took on other positions.
So yeah, but that's after the fact. We're talking about post-establishment.
Right.
Once Taj was put in office, it was all downhill from there. Right? Anyway, certain people were consuls. Then it was supposed to be if you were competent, you would be a judge. But then it turned into
Popularity.
popularity,
Click.
my crew type thing, where
Yeah.
I'm gonna appoint whoever I want to a position of power, so that way when it comes down to voting, I know they're gonna support me.
No matter your credentials.
Yeah, no
or
matter what. That's what it turned into.
Yeah.
So certain people were consuls, then they got promoted to judge, right? And I'm pretty sure Taj knew nothing about any of this stuff. Anyway, Sharon was in the house. right, that they unlawfully foreclosed on via their color of law, their threat, duress, and coercion tactics, etc. So Sharon stated, actually it wasn't even Sharon, it was, what's her name? Dr. Robin. It was Dr. Robin who was assisting Sharon at the time. She put together the thing to have all the Moors show up. That's where all the Moors in front of Sharon's house came to be, right? So the day that she was supposed to get evicted or whatever, all the Moors showed up. The police knew about it, so they didn't show up. So they waited until nighttime, sent in a SWAT team. Did they send in paperwork? Nah. They sent in a SWAT team to issue a warrant for traffic tickets. Don't believe me, look the case up.
That's insane.
For traffic tickets. Then,
SWAT? Why
SWAT.
would you waste fiat on...
It's a scare it's COINTELPRO to scare all the Moors that think Islam Islam love is gonna fix everything. It's to scare them. Because they're against people like me protecting them against that. Right? So all the Moors that showed up that day, nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. Where's everybody at? Nowhere. So this poor woman and her family was subject to European inquisitional tactics of sending in a SWAT team with a fake warrant to kick in her doors and, make sure that her children have PTSD. So her husband had priors, right? So he wasn't supposed to be in possession of a shotgun. They had a shotgun in their house, which is well within their rights, but the Europeans gave him 7 years in jail. They tried to charge Sharon with things like something like along the lines of the potential of causing a catastrophe because she had propane tanks. Even though most people have a grill in their backyard with a propane tank, right? Then they try to charge her with endangering the life of children. Then they put a court order on her that said that she can't be near her children and gave her children to other family members. And now her family's saying, don't come over here with that Moor stuff. Because obviously it don't work, right? Because she got her door kicked in. When it's not more science that don't work, it's us being hoe-ass cowards. We're going to show up for a fucking picture because we want the clout, but we don't want to protect our women. They're willing to go on camera and say this is a matriarch. So that's why Sharon's still in here. Because we're bitches. And don't say language. We are bitches. Period. Not women, female dogs. We're cowards. We got our tail tucked. But when we're on camera, I'm the biggest Moor and I'm this... Because they recognize my status and my paperwork is supreme and sublime and Aboriginal lien and I'm the first lien holder and holder of due course and I did the financial statement and I did this and I discharged that. Meanwhile, SWAT is still able to kick in an innocent woman's door. I don't care if she was robbing Moors of the fiat and she was disrespecting people. I don't care about none of that. That don't matter in the grand scheme of things. So what she was stealing from the Moors? Because she wasn't really stealing from the Moors. Because the Moors were donating. It was fraud. But they were still volunteering.
Caveat emptor.
Exactly. They were still volunteering.
Right.
All the Moors knew her character. This wasn't a secret. That doesn't mean she deserved what happened to her and her children.
Right.
That's why she's still in there. Because this Moors claim they're wearing army fatigue with no arms. What are you doing? It's gaslighting. You know when Sinbad, when he's mad, he fluffs up his feathers to seem bigger? That's what we're doing. You ain't about nothing. At least Sinbad actually fights. He's a bird. We're supposed to be men. What are we doing? Oh, I got the best knowledge. You haven't even written a book. What knowledge you got? The bare minimum that the prophet put on you. You haven't even done that. How are you a man? That's why Sharon's still in jail. It's that simple. That's why I posted the picture of all people in the picture. Don't mean organization, don't mean strength, it don't mean unity. Clearly. Because her house is boarded up. Where were they at when the SWAT team showed up? Sleeping like babies. Oh, they're like this. This was them. Dreaming, right? Huh. Took that great picture at Sharon's house. Oh. I look so good in that picture. I look so upright, independent, and fearless in that picture.
Instead of having
like arm, because she's supposed to be counsel, right? That's a high position.
your neighbor
She's supposed to be
should
a judge.
Yeah.
That's a high position. Where's the detail outside her house protecting her?
Back
Knowing the situation. Where's the detail at? Because let's observe. Everybody on Facebook saying we love so and so, we love Sharon, she's so great, we love her, we love her, we love her. Obviously, love didn't protect her. Obviously. So what do your words actually mean? You love her. What do they mean? Now there was one person that obviously loved her because they bailed her out. We don't gotta talk about her slandering him. We don't have to talk about that. That's just her character. But obviously one person loved her enough to pay $5,000 to bail her out and then subsequently pay for her to stay in hotels because she was homeless. Action! That's proof that he loves her.
Right.
I didn't know I'm in love with you type of thing, but your counsel, I believe you're doing something important for the people. Let me help you.
Right.
That's love.
And loyalty.
That's love. Not, oh, spiritual time?
Mm-hmm.
That's not love. Mm-hmm. What happened when her door got kicked in? What happened? Where did all the love go?
And that's why Jamal talks about, anybody, if you claim to love Rise of the Moors, if you claim to
Don't claim to love me. I see where your love
support
goes. See what love
him,
is.
move here, or at least establish something where you are. And when he says establish something where you are, like, your neighbors, you should be moving into the apartments next door if you can't get the house, or, moving in together and supporting each other, because when stuff like this happens, we can all be out there to stop it collectively. At least try.
We don't want that. We want to look good on camera. I'll show you the picture. The picture looks great.
It was that
when
night
you compare
that
it
they
to
came.
the after,
I
it's
did
like,
not know that.
what was that for? It was for clout. People got mad when I posted the picture. I don't know why. I've been talking about a military since before then, so I don't know why they got mad at me.
Someone said if they're consulates, then why can they not go to the government and get her out?
Because they're incompetent. Because they say that if you lean the straw man, you can't get arrested. They say that since they're de facto, they don't have to show up. That's what they say. Ask them why they're so incompetent. Don't ask me. I left because they're so incompetent. And I did a video on it explaining that to the Moors because I was part of the reason why there were so many Moors there. And ask anyone that was on the recordings. Anytime anyone would ask who's so-and-so, they would state their name and they would state that they're here because of me. So I had an obligation to all those people to state why I'm leaving, to reveal to them this is what's actually happening. Mm-hmm. And I stepped away. And as soon as I stepped away, all that bad stuff started happening to them. And I'm glad I wiped my hands clean of that karma, because it's crazy. But the Moors don't see none of that. They just see the stupid spelling on Facebook and they think, oh, that means I didn't lose my status if I type all lowercase letters? They're blinded. And they don't even know they're blinded. Because once they hate Jamal said fuck, no, I can't hear it. I want to hear Islam family and hominis dominus. And then question why we're, come on, man. We have to stop. We have to stop choosing to be stupid. We have to. That's why the prophet said, if I can just get you to think, you would save yourself. Being dumb is a choice, unless you're born lame, which most of us are not born lame. I'm trying to find a picture so I can show you of Sharon's house boarded up.
Go to your Facebook.
Yeah, I am.
And then click uploads.
Oh.
I did my bear real quick.
I was just scrolling. Making it harder. Excuse me. And then things, what happened to Sharon makes people think that more science doesn't work. And it's not the science itself. It's the inactivity of the people. Look how many people showed up to our house. If that many people showed up to your house, how was your door kicked in? That means they weren't there when the time called for it. That means they weren't there. Which means we're not there when it counts. We're there when it looks good. That's what that means. Sad, right? Yeah. It's sad. And look, this is coming from a person who she said personal things. She said things against me personally. That doesn't matter.
You still.
So I have reason to be mad at her. You know what I mean? I don't have to be saying what I'm saying right now, but that means I'm being subjective and not objective to the truth. That means my personal feelings are involved. Nah, this shouldn't happen to anybody. She didn't hurt me. She didn't physically hurt the Moors. She didn't physically hurt anybody. She don't deserve this. Nobody deserves this. But nah, we'll look real good on camera. Real good. Real good. That's why I got my hair wrapped. I don't care what I look like. Because I know when the police came, I at least stood in front of the door.
Mm-hmm.
At least tried to stop them from getting breaking in the door. At least attempted. This is just sad. So I can say I'm a man. These people, they can't. I don't care who they are. With exclusion of the elders, because they're old. We can't expect elders to be fighting for us. That's cowardice. Elders guide us. We do the fighting. And that's why I get so fired up, because that's a perfect example of where we are falling short. And then we'll make stupid, arbitrary statements as if she didn't file the right paperwork, or as if more science doesn't work. Because we're trying to avoid liability. No, that is our fault. Our fault. Every single one of us. I don't care. It's all of our fault. And that's just the ugly truth. And people want to say, well, I'm not over there, so it's not my fault. Were you talking about a militia years ago? All these people that was in the science for more than 5 years? Longer than me? Was y'all talking about a militia then? To prevent stuff like this? Was y'all talking about that then? No? So it's your fault. Because you as a leader should know, because all these people claim to know, that we need to have a team of someone to establish preventative measures to prevent things like that.
Right, preventative measures. No.
Not just study, and that's it, and that's all I'm leaving you with.
Right. And not to overthrow anything, because obviously a lot of people have misconceptions of why.
No, it's not. No, it's trolls. It's COINTELPRO operatives making statements as if we're trying to overthrow anything, and we've never said anything like that ever.
Right.
It's them saying things like that to distract you.
Right.
Meanwhile, Sharon's on camera live in front of children, and they arrest her live on camera to make a statement because it's COINTELPRO. And we don't want to admit that. I don't know why we don't want to admit it. I don't know why.
There's nothing wrong with defending yourself. It's natural, and nature has a law to defend yourself.
Sharon did not deserve that. I don't care. I don't care what she said about me. She didn't deserve it.
No.
I don't care how much finance the Moors were sending her and she was doing bad stuff with it. I don't care. I don't care. That don't matter. We should have took her to our court if it actually mattered. Because the Quran says...
She never even broke any laws.
Yep. It's sad. And it makes me angry.
But that's...
Because if it could happen to her, that means it can happen to anybody else. And no one's going to stop it. And so what does that mean for me?
That's literally...
That means I'm fucked.
That's literally COINTELPRO in the works right there. Because even if Sharon was incompetent, or even if the consulate was incompetent at the time and telling people the wrong thing, guess what? They still had thousands of Moors listening to what they were saying, which is exactly what the United States government does not want. They don't want Moors, undeclared or declared Moors. You know, it's called to prevent the Black Messiah. They don't want anybody to unify. They don't want anybody to bring it to the forefront that we're being oppressed, that, you know, we're getting locked away for victimless crimes. Like 90% of the reason why we get locked away is victimless crimes. And in order for a crime to exist, there must be an injured party. And half of these crimes don't have injured parties. And we're just rotting away in jail for nothing. Doing 5 years pending trial which is as if there's no such thing as a speedy trial. While they get to make money off of our bodies in private prisons, while Whole Foods gets to, you know,
The prison industrial complex, slave labor.
right,
via the
they get
13th
to
Amendment.
use, exactly, they get to use the prisoners to farm their stuff or make their, you know, their products.
Slaughter their cows.
Yeah.
And we're just like, selfie.
Mhm.
And then we'll claim the honor of the prophet when he said money doesn't make the man. It's free national standards and principles that make the man in a nation. And we'll make all the excuses about money. What happened to your free national principles? Because if it's about money and principles, you wouldn't be doing business with these people. But it's not. It's about you. So, admit it.
Right.
Once we admit a bunch of stuff, we can go a lot further than what we are now.
Someone asked, can you do a writ of habeas corpus for Sharon?
No. I can actually do it, yeah. But is it gonna work? No, it's not gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
Why
How do
not?
you know, Jamal? Because at the same time, Sister Nora, who was also part of the consulate at the time, which far less people know about her, she was unlawfully arrested for over a year and a half because some other more adverse possessed the property, asked her to help defend them. I'm pretty sure they did some COINTELPRO stuff on
They
her,
used her name.
and she
I believe.
was arrested for something that they did. No one from the everyone in the consulate refused to help Nora. Well, not everyone. I can't say everyone, but a
I
lot
don't know
of a
about
lot of the big
refused, but
names.
couldn't.
A lot of the big names in the consulate refused to help her. So I was helping her. I did the habeas corpus with her son and a few other Moors, and they kept denying it and denying it and denying it. For what reason? They never specified the reason. Why? Because it's color of law. They're criminals. They have all the guns and all the manpower and all the organization. So what is one person with one document going to do? Matter of fact, what's 10 people with one document going to do? Nothing. In the face of thousands of people who are organized and believe that they're going to issue this warrant in the name of justice.
Yeah.
You know, let's think about this.
They don't even see how many people we've tried to help. You know, we're sitting here crying because we know they need help, and all we can do is submit paperwork and hope that it helps. Literally cried, like, it's...
I cried when the judge said that they're going to let Rashad go.
Yeah.
Why? Because that's rare.
Yeah.
Here's an innocent person trying to do good in my organization, and since COINTELPRO wants to stop what I'm trying to do, they're going to put fake charges on him, an innocent man, and now his life is in the balance. And all we can do is send paperwork? You don't think we have souls and a conscience? You don't think that hurts? But guess what we do? Keep going. Because we know their job is to stop us. So we know we can't stop. So we cry. And we do a little bit of push-ups. And that's the honest truth. I'm pretty sure he was nervous. I would have been.
Hell yeah.
Nervous, yeah.
His life was on the line. The least I could do was cry.
Right.
He had to live it. The least we could do is support. He had to live it. So what are we doing here?
And then people, this is how sick some of us are. There's more like on comments talking about, well, why did he put himself in that jurisdiction in the first place?
How?
He got pulled over.
No, stop.
Hold on.
No.
Got pulled over, detained, sent to actual jail.
Give more details.
Went into a Zoom meeting
Juju,
hearing
Juju,
while in jail.
No, more details. He was stopped by men with guns. More men showed up, boxed him in, surrounded him with guns, bulletproof vest, mace, all of that stuff. He had one gun in the trunk that he couldn't get access to. So how was he supposed to get out of that?
Which they found later.
No. Let them answer the question. Those people that ask, how come you allowed yourself to get in their jurisdiction? Let them answer that question. They can't. They have nothing for you. They're gonna say, well, if you did the UCC financing statement, if you authenticated the birth certificate, if you put L and May on your driver's license, that cancels out the jurisdiction. And if you put your passport, and you put the fez on in the passport, then that cancels out the jurisdiction. Meanwhile, they never had to exercise anything they believe in, because they're cowards. Not just because they're cowards, but they have no type of testicular fortitude, or if they're a woman, ovarian fortitude. They just got words and nothing else. No experience, no remedy for the Moors at all. Which means everything you have to say is moot. But since the Moors don't know that, they're going to listen to them. Well, how come Rashad did put himself in their jurisdiction? How come he did do that? Well, you obviously know nothing.
And because they'll be like, oh, how come he even entered into their court? How about he was already detained and
unlawfully
put into a Zoom court? So then it feels like you're never leaving.
And the reason why they say things like that, and I'm telling y'all, everyone, is because they have never, ever, 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 ever lived anything remotely close to what he went through within that 3-day period or 4 days, ever. That's just the truth. I don't care who they are. You can tell them I said it. My name is Jamal Abdullah Bey, Rise of the Moors, riseofthemoors.org. I said it. It's the truth.
You have anything to add to that, Rashad?
Yeah, just far as the whole not going to court thing, you put yourself in that situation, you don't have no choice, and then the only option is defend yourself or abandon shit and just get an attorney.
Or submit. That's it. It's either you fight or you submit. And the fighting part is what scares everybody. That's why they ask, oh, what do I need to file? Oh, what do I need to say? Because they're scared. Nah, just go in there. Say what you feel. Say what it is. I didn't hurt nobody. Why am I here? You don't have to mention the law at all. I didn't hurt anyone. Why am I here? And then they say, well, you violated this. Okay, but I didn't hurt anyone, so why am I here? You can say the same thing. I didn't hurt anyone, so why am I here? I didn't hurt anyone, so why am I here? I didn't hurt anyone, so why am I? You don't have to say, well, back in 1787, the Moorish Sultan signed a treaty with the United States. And in said treaty, it never granted you any personal jurisdiction over me. You don't have to say none of that. I did not hurt anyone. Why am I here? And you can write that in a writ. I did not hurt anyone. Why am I here? Period.
Because that's law.
That is law. But some people think you have to say certain things, and the way you say it, and the way you spell it, that's going to make them dismiss the case. Right. Nope. And they don't want that ugly truth, because that means the fight is way harder than you thought. It's not just wake up, say you're more, and that's it. No. It's stressful. And there's a lot of people hurting. A lot. If you think your situation is bad. Before we went live about your situation, no one even knew what you was going through. Nobody. So now imagine how many other Moors are going through something. That they don't have me to help them. They don't have Leonidas to help them. They don't have Moore to help them. They don't have Juju to help them. They don't have Akeef. They don't have Moreno. They don't have nothing we have. It's just them against oppression. And half of them don't even know they're Moors. Then you look at the situation like, oh, we're fucked. Then you start talking about a militia, everyone's scared. You scared because I'm saying militia? But you're not afraid of them? Or you're not afraid of them continuing to do what they do to the point where you have to defend yourself? You rather say I'm the bad guy? Because I say fuck once in a while? When they're fucking you? I'm just saying the word. They're doing it.
It's always easy to point the finger than take responsibility.
That's
all the time.
That's why I say what I say, the way I say it, how I say it, and whenever I want to say it. And I apologize that it makes me look bad. I'd rather look bad and walk in the truth than be a whole ass nigga on the gram, holy moly macaroni, and never do anything for anybody. And if you can't get with that, then you can't get with Rise of the Moors. Because the rise is ugly. It's ugly. It's people crying. It's families suffering. It's fighting with everything you got, and that's it. And worry about people trying to take your life for nothing. That's what this is.
Not even just take your life.
And since
Worrying
you're not in
about
the
slandering
situation,
you and all
you don't
kinds
know
of
the
stuff.
stress, so you don't have the perspective, so you can say whatever you want on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Sit in the seat that old Democulus had. Sit in the seat. Let the sword dangle over you. Sit in the seat. See how the stress rises. Most people in this position will fold like a chair. A foldable chair that's broken.
A sandcastle in the water. That's it.
You ain't seeing me fold. It's not. I don't know how to quit. It's impossible. I tried quitting. That's juju. I tried quitting doing this several times. I can't do it. There's nothing else to do. What else is there to do? We're oppressed. The only thing left to do is to fight. In whichever degree you see that in. If you don't want to physically fight, support. Financially. If you don't want to do that, shut your mouth. If you don't want to fight or support financially, don't say nothing.
Or show up here.
Which is supporting. Well, which is fighting, actually. Because if you're standing next to me, you best believe you're fighting. Because all of us on the phone, that was us fighting. Us in court testifying. He didn't do nothing. There was traffic. We were fighting. So don't think that we're just over here sitting around passive. Fighting is a lot. There's a lot that goes into fighting. Not just physically holding a gun. That's not fighting. That's the front lines.
And it's fighting regardless of whatever's going on in your life at the time, because we've been through some shit and still showed up places while our life is in shambles.
Tell them. You want me to tell them? I'll tell them.
You can tell them whatever.
We lost our first child. Right? Now imagine, I'm going to get real gory. You're in a tub. Your woman's pregnant. She has to pass the child you just lost. Both of you are crying, scared, tears, blood in the bathtub, right? You have to bury this unborn blob that was supposed to be your child. And you still show up to court with remorse. Don't say nothing. Y'all ain't built like that. So when I say fuck you, these niggas is dumb, best believe I mean that shit. Because they ain't built like we're built. Period. So, don't want to tell me shit. Can't tell me nothing. Can't tell me. I've been to court with Leonidas, and I seen him come out of box, surprised that I'm there. I wasn't expecting no one to be there for him. You can't tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to jump in the box.
Nah, that was a different case. That was completely different. Another court case. Juju was trying to, because in Lowell, Mass, there's like a box that so imagine this is the courtroom, right? The judge is over there. This is where the people sit. The door's right here. The press are over there. And in the middle is like all the attorneys. On the left is one of the bailiff guys or whatever they're called, the guard. And then a box, like a see-through box.
It's just stairs that lead to the box.
And the stairs that go down to the holding facility. And they brought Leonidas up. She's trying to get over there. From all the shit going on, she's trying to get over there. Right? So we all, some of us strategically place ourselves just in case something happens. That's how we move in the courtroom. Ain't no just paperwork. Nah, we're out there. Hey.
Cops are telling you, you can't be right here. There's 2 or 3 around you. Yep. You need to go back to your seat. And I'm sitting there like I'm dumb.
All the more, and everybody stand up. All the more.
Here's your paperwork. We're here for you.
It's a whole show in there. They ain't gonna show you that. Moors can't even tell you stories about that. Because they don't live that life. They just think, let me follow this. Nah, we're ready to help. By any means necessary, we're helping. That's the type of standard that we should have. Because if we had that standard, Sharon wouldn't be in jail right now. You know how many Moors out there that don't have jobs? That they're not doing nothing? That you can volunteer to be in the militia, you're already not getting paid. You might as well do something with your life. You could have just stood guard. They don't know that you're not built like that. Because we're strategy, right? Art of war that all these Moors claim to know. If you're just sitting there with your gun and your vest, they don't know if you're a coward or not. You got a gun and a vest, so they got to think differently now. They can't just send a SWAT team in now. But we don't. What are we doing? Whatever. Moors is joking around. I said, this don't mean nothing. Any questions? Because I can just ramble all day. See, that's why I didn't want to do this. I gotta work out now. I'm stressing over here.
So someone said, question, why do Moors have strategic discussions on public forums and putting themselves in a position to be targeted? Where are the council standard?
Who discussed strategy? And if people aren't public with this information, how are the Moors gonna know? Period. Because look,
Facts, yeah.
I mentioned nothing about strategy at all. Ever. I didn't say nothing. So why is that question even being asked? Because if you had the solution, you wouldn't be on this video. You would be in private discussing your strategy with your Moors. Do you have that? So is your strategy actually working? Look, you see what I'm saying? Let's think. What strategy? What are you talking about?
And anything we talk about is always going to be on the public forum. It's not going to be...
And don't it say in the Bible, everything that's in the dark shall come to the light? So what are you talking about?
Damn sure wasn't in private talking about his, doing his lectures.
The United States don't do nothing in private. Everything they do is public. They're spying on us, and that's public information. They destabilize governments, and that's public information.
Yeah.
They're using rabid dominance via shock and awe against civilians, and that's public information. So what are you talking about strategy in private? What strategy did I reveal? That's not already known. I say self-defense all the time. I say self-preservation all the time. So how is that not known? To me, that sounds like fear to me.
And self-preservation isn't strategy. That's the law. That's nature's law.
And as far as so-and-so making themselves a target, read the counterintelligence program. Read it. It don't matter who you do, what you do, how well known you are, how not well known you are. They're gonna target you. They got field offices everywhere in every state. Come on. Let's be serious. We're over here joking. Come on, man. To me, and I'm gonna just tell you what that makes me think, right? That makes me think a few things. One, either that individual is a coward, or two, they're a coward to the point where they don't want to sacrifice their lives to protect whoever's around them that has the potential to be a leader, because that exposes them as the coward that they are. And then they also don't want to be a leader because they're a coward because they don't want the attention. Because there's not one individual that has ever been a leader that doesn't have any type of attention. It's impossible. The threats come with it. I ain't scared. I'm just making a statement that if we, as a people, claim to love these people that we claim to love, why aren't we protecting them? So, since there is no one protecting me, I purchase a gun, a bulletproof vest, and I do it myself. Am I tripping? Because sometimes I feel like I'm tripping. Like, where are these questions even coming from? Just like let's revert back to bees. Are they out here gang banging with their stingers?
No.
No, it's just a well-known fact that they will sting you.
They carry their arms all day, every day.
Yep. Is the queen saying, "Hey, my loyal subjects, Don't go out there showing your stingers, making yourself a target. I've seen a praying mantis hunt down bees before, and that praying mantis knows they have stingers. That bee didn't even know it was a target. So what are we talking about here? Come on, come on. Any real questions?
Ready to cut?
Never ready to cut. I'm all fired up.
Okay.
I'm over here sweating.
All right. I thought you was ready to end it.
Someone asked on the website, are the books only available in PDF or will physical copies be available soon?
Soon. My first book is going to be available again soon. As far as the other ones, I need more fiat to buy them.
Oh, your breath stinks here.
Excuse me.
Oof.
Because they said we are all targets, no point in hiding.
Thank you. Someone with sense.
Oh, that was Kush Day?
It would make sense that all of us would come together since we're all targets and protect each other. Just like all the bees know that their hive is a target of bears because they have honey. So they learn to sting the bear's snout because the collar is too thick with fur. So they learn, okay, we're going for the eyes and the nose.
Yeah.
Nah, let's hide our hive somewhere and oh my god! Nah. Bees got more heart than most Moors out here. And they're bumblebees. The cute ones.
Yeah. Again, the ones that sting once and die.
Yeah.
They're not, wasps or hornets that can sting you multiple times and still be alive. Bear, you gotta lay down because your breath is knocking. Lay down.
Again, jurisprudence. Look, we don't even know. We don't even know how all this stuff is connected, but then we'll claim that everything's connected. We're the funniest people around.
Someone asked, did you go to court for your adverse possession?
Nope, the case is still unassigned.
We never went to court for it in the first place. The court thing came after. To be clear about that. Get your stink breath out of here. I don't want that. You stink.
Yeah.
Bear, why don't you go drink? Go drink some water.
Adonis L said, thanks for the quick rent affidavit. I'm now rent free.
No problem. entanglement with the universe.
You want to read it?
Nope. Alright, so jurisprudence is the observation of the workings of the universe, which is religion. Religion and action is spirituality. Universe is one vibration, or macro. So jurisprudence is the micro, or the individual, right? The universe as above, jurisprudence so below, the application of the universe. Spirituality is the application or science or quality or art of breathing, which is you, which is the universe. Which this is the universe, that's you in the universe, which is the universe. That's it. And don't think you're special just because of this, because all of us are this.
We're all special.
And all the prophets came to remind us of this and to take action. Because if it's vibrating, that means it's moving. That's why the prophet said active more, not passive more. That's Jay to drop off some stuff for the donation stuff.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask if it was your mom's fan.
That's it. So now, think to yourself.
Till I took him inside, till I took part.
If the universe is getting beat up, you think it's just going to accept it? The answer should be no. If God's getting beat up, you think God's just going to sit back and do nothing? And it doesn't matter what, even if you believe in, even if you don't know that religion and dogma are two separate things and you think religion is dogma, in the Bible it says God, breathed his spirit into you, which makes you what? God. Right? Does it say God made you out of clay and breathed his spirit into you, right? Breathed life into you? Whose life was it? His. So that means you're God. Then Jesus said, is it not written in your law that ye are gods? I'm gonna get the stuff real fast.
Just leave it on the front porch so we can put it in the garage.
Just take the floor. Do the stuff. Talk.
You gonna take the hot seat?
I'm not there yet.
Yeah, you are. Rashad, if you can get yourself out of jail from in jail, you're there.
I just got to catch the camera shot.
Oh, I know. I'm still in camera shy mode.
That's what it is. I don't know.
They're all looking at
It's
me.
a mental thing.
No, I'm like that too. I shut down when I know I'm on camera. Behind camera, I'll say all the things. Come on, Jeffrey the Giraffe. It's our 7'7" contender. So if you saw, see, Ben said you can do it more. Words of encouragement. Look at my dog thinking he's somebody. He just lets himself outside.
Is there any questions on it?
Someone said 7'7", goddamn. Nah, he's like what, 6'6"?
6'6",
We
yeah.
just say he's 7'7". So the last video we did prior to this one was about Rashad, and his situation. Coach Day said it's time, Rashad. We all counting on you. Yeah. Yeah, we went over his situation and what he got pulled over for. We were literally traveling to court. I mean, you can go back and watch the video, but just to give you a recap, traveling to court for a different more. We were in separate vehicles, and Rashad while he was traveling, got pulled over in bumper-to-bumper traffic by a state trooper that was like in a shoulder with his lights on already. I noticed they were getting pulled over, and we called. So, oh boy. Sorry, I'm paying attention to them outside. I think Bear just jumped into their car. So he ended up getting pulled over without any probable cause. He didn't want to give him a reason why he got pulled over. Then he said he got pulled over because his tags didn't match the car, because Rashad recently got a new car and transferred the registration. But he gave him the paperwork for the transfer. So he ends up getting arrested for driving without a license. So the probable cause claim was about the tags thing, but that ended up being fine. But they arrested him for driving without a license, which is not an arrestable offense, nor is it a crime. It's just a traffic infringement, if anything. And everybody knows you have the right to travel. A license is simply permission. We don't need permission because per the Constitution, it literally says, you remember it better than I do.
It's all case law that supported as far as just like you had a right to travel, driving with no tags, no registration, wrong plate. It's all non-arrestable offenses. Traffic infractions are not crimes. This case law always that's like on multiple layers that's supporting
Right.
right to travel, and that can be found on RV Publications
Yep.
website.
And
Just as well as knowing your rights to like what due process is, the probable cause. Do they have a warrant to actually search through your things, or to go in your car without your permission or your consent? So mainly just studying the Constitution, case law, and United States law.
so while he's being detained, the cops did an inventory check of the car to make sure nothing gets stolen between the police station and the tow company, which when do they ever give two craps about that? But during the inventory check, they go into his locked trunk, and they found his pistol, which he's legally allowed to carry. It's a legit pistol. You have to pass a background check. He bought it in the territory that he lives in. So, and there's something called peaceable journey laws, which is federal law that states you can travel with your arms as long as it's unloaded and not accessible to you. It was unloaded in the trunk, not accessible to him, locked away. So after the fact, while he's detained already in a cell for driving without a license, which is not a criminal offense, they did an illegal search of his car. And on top of it, if they were just doing an inventory check, they would have not gone into the bag or the box that the pistol was in the first place. They could have just put down on inventory one bag or one box, one locked thing. So the trunk was locked. They shouldn't even gone into the car. But they found that and then decided to put gun charges on him. But Rashad, did you wait until you was already in trouble? Rashad has no priors, no criminal history, nothing. Did you wait until you were in trouble to study the law?
Nope. I've been studying since I got introduced to the science, more science. Watching Todd Sorry Bay videos. Always wrote down notes, listened, cross-reference, and my study just improved from there.
Yep.
Because Taj, he says a lot of redundant things over and over again. So in most of his videos. So once you start studying, it's going to start linking to other things. We'll start linking to other things, and that's how it's easy to start studying and comprehending what you're studying and what you're reading. So yeah, I didn't wait last minute to. And mind you, I'm not a criminal. You know, I didn't commit any crime. I don't commit any crimes or anything like that. It's just like I know one day this might happen to me. So
this is why we fight.
yeah, exactly why we fight.
Because if they can do it to anybody, they can do it to you.
So I don't want to exclude myself from anyone else because proclaimed or not, it happens to everyone. So you know, it don't matter if you're proclaimed. You're not immune to the system that oppresses us. So.
He's done with the hot seat.
Tap, tap.
Why?
We're all shy.
He's shy? So you're telling me he's shy when he just stood in front of a judge and had to fight for his life? He ain't shy. Come on.
I'm the same way. You know how I get when I'm on camera. I'm like,
That's no excuses if you ask me. Because when you in court, you're not shy at all. So.
Nah, I'm fierce as, you know.
Exactly. All these excuses.
No, the ancestors did it. I didn't do nothing.
Oh, snap.
With that crap. You may have had the spirit of your ancestors with you. But best believe they didn't do nothing for you.
Facts.
The difference.
Like when judges tell me not to say anything else, but you know I don't listen, so I'd be like,
I object to that. Are there any questions, bro?
Let me see.
Because if not, buy my books. Donate.
His first book should be back in stock on the website this week.
Yeah.
Are You Confused About Law, which in my opinion is the best book that you could ever have. One of the best books that you could have besides obviously like Black's Law Dictionary and the Constitution and all that stuff.
I think my fourth one's pretty lit.
All your books are great, but Are You Confused About Law focuses on jurisprudence and history at the same time.
Focuses on what? Focuses on what? Jurisprudence? What? It's just jurisprudence.
How do I get the book Are You Confused About Law? So I was just talking about it will be in stock on the website this week, the physical copy. There's a PDF version on the website already. But the physical copy will be available on the website ASAP. You want to cut it?
There's no more questions.
No, people are just making
You
statements.
know, I just ramble.
It's up to you. You could stay on and ramble a little bit more if you want.
I'd rather answer questions because answering questions is
Yeah.
the best.
Does anyone use the Federal Arbitration Act to be counsel for each other? Arbitration cannot be denied in commercial process, aka court.
Neither can treaties.
If you didn't hear him, he said
Why would
neither
you-
can treaties.
Hey, relax. Why would you use an arbitration clause when the treaty is superior to that? The reason why is because you would have to have organized government to enforce the treaty,
Leave it.
whereas you don't need crap to enforce the Arbitration Act.
Mm-hmm.
See where one's harder than the other.
I gotta waddle my legs to this.
Any other questions?
And check.
What about you, Jen? The best student?
I showed up. Now I just want to dive into what you just spoke about today, really.
Any specific questions about any of that?
This is going back to when you were speaking about Indians. You said that they were, when you mentioned the War Department,
Yeah.
what did you mean by that? They actually titled?
Yeah, so, you know how, like, there's the Department of the Interior, there's the Department of Commerce within the executive branch?
Mm-hmm.
The dealings with Indians was under the War Department.
Okay.
War, so it was, you know, war.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't under the commercial department. You know what I mean? It was under the War Department. So that's by force. You're talking about force. You're talking about people dying. You're talking about claim to be Indian or I'm going to kill you. You're talking about abandon your Moorish birthrights or I'm going to kill you.
Okay.
That's how we got called Indian. And then you'll see in 1740, it's called the Great Awakening. All right, so 1712, the Willie Lynch letter was written to basically keep Negroes in check. Then 1724, the Christian Black Codes was created, which was built off the principles of the Willie Lynch letter, or the Willie Lynch manual. Then not even 20 years later, now all these blacks and Indians are proud Christians. That's the Great Awakening of 1740. So all of those are connected. You know, you might hear the Willie Lynch letter, but you don't hear how it's connected to the Christian Black Codes of 1724. They're directly connected. That's 12 years later. You know what I mean? And then 20 years after that, 1740, now all these blacks and Indians are self-proclaimed Christians. But when you read the Willie Lynch letter, it talks about taking them away from their own culture. And then when you read the Christian Black Codes, it talks about making it mandatory for them to go to Christian church or the Catholic religion. Then if you think about that 20-year period, that's all the children now. All the children where their parents forced them to go to church because the slave master forced them to do it. Now they're going to say, oh yeah, we're Christians, because they don't know anything else. That's how this was done. What's that, 3 generations, 4 generations? And then it's just been perpetual from that, just like in the Willie Lynch letter, it talked about making it perpetual. You know, and all of that is part of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. All of it. You know? It's just so, you know, multifaceted and so great, and there's different programs, you know, but it's all part of the same thing, the same agenda.
Yeah, right. Just kept on retitling it and adding new things to it, which is the same message.
Changing the name so people don't, instead of the Office of Indian Affairs, it's the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Oh, what a new thing. You know? And if you honestly,
Really
if you read any Indian treaty, you'll see where there's always a clause in the Indian treaty that states that they have no sovereignty. Whether it be, you know, they agree to be U.S. citizens or they agree to abide by the laws of the United States, that's all them relinquishing their sovereignty. It's all in all of them, all of those treaties. The only treaty it's not in is in the treaty with Morocco, where we don't submit nothing.
Yeah.
And I talk about that in my first book, and I give an actual comparison of one of the Indian treaties where they forfeit all their rights every single time. Anytime you read any Indian treaty, any one of them, you'll see where they submit. So how do you have independence if you're submitting to someone else's will? You're not submitting to your own will, you know? And that's why there's case law that says Indians are wards, because they agree to it. Not because they're terrible people, it's just that's the status that those people are in. Well, all you gotta do is change your status. If the treaty says Indians are wards in the Indian treaty, but the Moorish treaty doesn't say that, choose. You want to be the ward or you want to be the free people? Because the free people,
You want to go home or you want to
you're
go to
gonna
jail?
have to fight. You're gonna have to fight if you're gonna be the free people.
Yeah.
But the Indians, you can go in your little circle, spin your wheels, dress real extravagant, accomplish nothing, and then you'll get checked.
second book as well.
What year was the first treaty signed with Indians?
I'm not sure. From what I found, nothing prior to 1787.
Yeah.
From my research. Which means our treaty is still first, the Moorish treaty. Which, if you think about it, that's when we had most of the power during that time. Most of the Indian treaties I find are after the 1800s, which, again, if you study history, you'll see from 1800s to the 1815s, that was called the Barbary Wars. So it makes sense that after we fell, now we're called Indians.
The Barbary Wars.
Yeah, that's what that time period is called. And during that time period, that's when Haiti got their independence. During the Barbary Wars, which Barbary means Moorish, Haiti got independence? How does that work? That means they're Moors. And they maintain their independence. And then you'll also see that the word Algiers means the islands. And all the people from the islands, what are they called? Islanders. Instead of Algerian. When they're Algerian. They just made you think Algiers is over there.
Yeah, I did.
That's
I didn't
most
know
of
that
it
until
is
now.
landlocked. So how does it get the name the islands if 99% of it is on the continent of Africa? There's a few like islands that belong to it, but 99% of it is on the actual continent itself. So how does that place get the name the islands? And not the islands here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they just put everything over there.
Yeah.
Well, no. If you're from so-called Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Cuba,
Haiti.
any of those islands, you're Algerian. And you look at what, the Pirates of the Caribbean, all of that is about Moorish pirates
Yeah.
fighting against
The
Britain
Barbary Wars.
during the Barbary Wars.
Yeah.
And the pirate code are the treaties. The parlay, that's the treaty.
The parlay, that's what they called it?
Yeah, they say, can we parlay? Can we talk?
And,
So one captain would talk to another captain, hey, let's parlay instead of fighting.
Jack Sparrow and Captain Barbosa are literally based off of real Moors.
Moors. Yep. Actual Moors. You can look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Which two were they?
Jack
Jack Sparrow.
Sparrow, and Barbosa. Those are actual Moors. that's what the Europeans call them. They actually have Moorish names, but if you look that up, you'll see.
Yeah.
So when they show Barbosa with his fleet of ships, you're talking about the Moorish Empire in its navy.
Remember, the United States did not have
Yeah.
a navy at the time, so the Moors were literally bombing their ships, you know, taking over their ships. Or commandeering them, as Jack Sparrow said in the movie. Jen, I was gonna say, any questions you may have, even if you think they're like conflicting questions or whatever, against information that we talk about, other people. Talk so they can see your mouth moving.
Can you hear us? Oh, my bad.
Question mark?
Alright, it seemed like the people starting to drop.
Yeah.
So probably can't.
Yeah.
You just
I'm
want
getting bored of my boredom.
They said now, yes, I think.
Oh,
Okay. We're back.
Alright.
Yeah, they're saying we're back. You mind holding it for a little bit?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm all cramped up over there. Trying to lay down and he'll be comfortable and hold at the same time. What happened? How come your friends didn't come inside? Those traitors.
oh, she had to go somewhere. Her children were like, is that a fox? Like, no,
Yes.
it's our dog.
It's a fox.
It's like, he has a foxtail.
Did he jump into the car? I thought I seen him
Nah,
jump in.
his nose was in it, and they
Oh.
wanted to pet him, so.
Yeah. Did they get to pet him?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, he's like children. People play with me. I can't wait till our daughter does rude things to his face. You know, buys.
Like my whiteboard. Any other questions?
What? See if anybody in the chat has questions. My questions, you already know my questions are like more for the listeners.
Excuse me, no, they're for you.
What, you know, what can we do?
What can we do?
We kind of went over some of those things.
So-
just to-
We can do a lot. There's a lot we can do. We can either try to organize the Moors in your area, as far as teaching them and teaching them that they have the power to organize. Not you claiming power to organize and having them join whatever you're doing. You teach the people, you empower them, and from there, the individual wills of the individual people will come together naturally. And then from there, they'll either appoint or elect whoever it is they want to appoint or elect to do whatever it is that they want to do. And if you can't do that, relocate, if you can, to another area where there's already a bunch of Moors and help them do more good. If you can't do that, I don't know what to tell you. You know, there's no obligation for you to do anything. Which is why we're in this situation, because, you know, it's all free will. It's all what you choose to do. So you could do nothing or you could do something. You could write books, you could not write books. You could teach people, you could not teach people. You could only teach your children, and that's perfectly fine. You could teach your family, that's perfectly fine. You could teach one person in 10 years. And according to my standards, that's not fine. But I don't have the standard, you know. According to the universe, it could be fine. Because at least one person knows. You know, it's up to you. Just don't complain if you're not putting in maximum
I was
effort.
gonna say, some people just complain on social media.
One thing I can say about myself is at least I tried. Like I tried being part of the consulate. You know, I tried to offer to teach people within the United Respublica. Like if they want me to teach people, I'll do it. Didn't get any responses. I tried within the consulate to, you know, at least have a voice in to try to put us in the right direction. And you know, I tried with Rising the Moors, tried with, you know, the Narragansett Confederation, tried to give the power to the people, and it's not up to me.
Right.
It's up to what the people want. The only thing I'm in charge of is myself and the organization. That's it. It annoys me when I'm offering the solution and people don't want the solution. They just want to complain about the problem. That's when I get upset, and that's when I get aggravated. Don't keep telling me, you know, I need to read, you know, keep doing classes and open up the temple door. Don't tell me that. Don't say that to me, because I've been saying what's needed. I've been saying. Don't ask me how do we get Sharon out. Don't ask me. I've been saying we need a militia. Don't ask me that. You know, it's either you want the solution or you don't. That's just how I am. And you can ask Judy. And most of the time, the solution is it's an ugly one and it's hard. But that's the solution. Like if you got a tumor on your brain or in your brain, someone's got to cut it open and remove it. That's ugly. But it has to be done. If not, then you die.
What was that treaty spelled? How was it spelled? This Treaty of 1610.
Oh, I'll
Is
show you.
Illinois?
Oh,
The Lenape. Lenape. Good thing you're here. You get direct TV. Kneecaps.
Which one?
Oh yeah, feel free, since y'all are here all the time, feel free to look at any of my books for free, since you're here. You gotta buy them, unless you want to buy them. Take them.
All right.
You can read them for free while you're here. Sneaking and geeking.
Someone asked, how does a newly nationalized Moor purchase firearms? Do they go through the same process as a U.S. citizen?
It's up to you.
Yeah, I would say check out the firearm laws in your state territory in regards to purchasing a firearm and the requirements that they ask for.
It's entirely up to you. You know, choose your battles. That's what I would say. When it comes to anything, choose your battles. Because the more fighting you're gonna do, the more tired you're gonna get, and it's hard to fight every single step of the way. It's hard. That's why I understand when people ask, you know, how do I do this? You know, because they don't want the opposition. I don't want the opposition. You know, but I don't like to give Moors the Band-Aid solution. I don't want to give you the cure to the symptom. I want to cure the actual problem, not the symptom of the problem. You know, because you can go to the DMV, put your free national name on the driver's license, and you probably won't have any problems. But does that change anything? No. Does that make things a lot easier for you? Yes. But if you're going to do that, you might as well just stay in the straw man.
Right.
Which is why the prophet said, keep all old business as it is, do all new business in your free national name.
And I always use the example of one of the Moors that used to come to class here was traveling for work in like a company van, got pulled over, gave his license and his nationality card. Cops still pulled him out the car and roughed him up, and he had to get surgery on his shoulder.
Oh, Pete, right? I'm not going to go into private information, but a Moor is looking for a truck, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just texted me. I spazzed on the lady. Her contract did not suit me, so I took myself out of there.
Right.
Money doesn't make the man. Right. It's free national standards and principles that make a man. Mm-hmm. So, your contract don't suit me, I'm leaving. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's being a man. But nah, we want the new BMW, so we're going to go to the DMV. We're going to submit everything they want because we want the BMW to look good. Nah, get that hoopty off Craigslist. That's still in good shape for straight cash. Get it. That's going to get you from point A to point B.
Ben says, how can he use his Moorish science to control the U.S. government?
Tell Ben I'm going to slap him. He's going to stop playing around.
He said serious question.
I just seen it just now. He said, Rashad asking my question. What are your thoughts changing your status with the passport?
Here's my thoughts. Follow. Just wait 1 second. It's 22 USC subsection 212. This is my opinion. It says no person shall be granted or issued or verified for any other purposes than those owing allegiance, whether citizens or not, to the United States. So, if you go to Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, and read the definition of nationality, it talks about who you owe allegiance to. So you cannot claim to be a Moor and then have U.S. documents. That means your allegiance is to them, not your own people. Because if your allegiance was to Morocco, your own people, you would say, F the passport, let me just get it in my strong name, because they got everything established. Now let me put all my Moorish energy into my Moorish stuff. So that way, I can just get rid of that U.S. passport and we can have a standing army and a sultanate and all this stuff necessary so we can create our own travel documents and enforce our right to travel collectively, not as an individual. That's the hard part. It's easy putting your any name on any passport. That's easy. They'll let you do it. But does that solve the problem? No. Does that conflict with you declaring your nationality? Yes. So I don't really have a personal opinion on it. It's just that's what the law is. Now I get it. Some people got family on the islands or other places. I get it. But just recognize that's part of the occupation. That's not good. You're forced to do that. Recognize that.
And like I've said a million times, the strong man is theirs. Use their info to get your passport if you need to.
Yeah. Don't stop trying to be a comfortable slave. Just realize we're all slaves. Period. Even me. Don't matter how much information I know. Because they kicked in my door. I'm subject to slavery. Period. Right? So let's admit that. Then we can push forward. Because it says their laws. They're not going to give no passports to no one unless you claim allegiance to them. So it don't matter if your free national name's on it or not. You have their stuff. That's evidence that you have allegiance to them. Period. That's part of status. Remember earlier, I wrote status is political allegiance.
Someone asked Adonis L, should we collectively enforce the UN, well, that's a United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People.
All UN documents are non-binding, which means you can't enforce the document itself. We can, however, enforce the principles of said documents.
Finish your question.
And they want to say treaty and constitution on the Secretary of State near us for full faith and credit and adverse possessions.
Can they use collectively UNDRIP treaty constitution?
Yeah. But like I said, all UN documents are non-binding. So you'd have to substantiate your claim with history, which is why history and law go together. why I stated before that the statutory provisions of the adverse possession laws don't apply to you because you're Aboriginal and Indigenous. So the statutes don't apply to you. But the common law principle of adverse possession applies to everybody. So you have certain rights as an Indigenous person. So you don't have to abide by the statutory time frame because it's already your land. So you just adverse possess it. But you better be ready to protect it. That's the hard part. So instead of you thinking, let me stay where I'm at by myself and I'm the only Moor here, let me try to adverse possess by myself. Oh, Rise of the Moors is opening up their arms saying that we're going to help protect each other. Let me go over there. So that way, when it's time to adverse possess, we can do it together. And we can protect each other. So that way, you don't have to take pictures like they did at Sharon's house and look good on camera. F all the cameras. We're there. Y'all seen us patrolling. I'll leave it. Self-defense, 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 self-defense. Period. On the physical plane, where numbers matter, the law of physics is real. One is less than 5. 10 is more than 1. 200 is more than 1. That's just a fact. Any other question?
Looking right now.
Who's a good boy?
Someone asks, have you heard of the do not detain list?
Oh, yeah, I heard of it.
I gotta wash that ball. He stinks.
But now think about this. Why would the people who's oppressing you put you on a do not detain list? Because to me, every time I hear Moors talk about that do not detain list, it's because they're afraid to go through what you went through. Because they don't want to have their beliefs challenged. Because they don't actually believe what they believe.
They can't challenge it.
They can't stand on it. So they don't want to be challenged. So they want to pray to be on this do not detain list. Who wrote the list? Because the person who writes the list has all the power. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the problem. So you want to submit to be on the list because you don't want to fight. Okay. So you don't believe in anything that you claim to believe in then. You don't listen to Bob Marley when he said get up, stand up for your right. He didn't say sit down and try to get on a list. Because I'm pretty sure that's how the Nazis got the Jews. They said, yeah, we're going to put you on the do not detain train. And took you straight to Auschwitz. Ben so sneaky Nikki?
Nah, I didn't see any other comments from them.
I'm trying to see if there's any more comments.
I'm about to go get the pot pie from the oven now.
Ooh, I like food.
Yeah, I was thinking about making dinner soon, but I also don't want to cook.
We gotta go to my sister's, my mom's house.
Oh yeah.
I'm so tired.
I'm just a whale.
What kind of whale?
All of them.
All of them?
Mm-hmm. A sea cow.
That's sexy.
Mm-hmm.
You're my sea cow mama.
Mm-hmm.
My potato mama too.
Micah L. Bay said, I'm not sure if it's a he or she, but they want to have a one-on-one with you. For just
Around what? Text 401 336 6799. Text it. Don't call it. Text it. Because we have to schedule things. Text 401. All right. How about that? I have this thing right here. Work smarter, not harder. Oh, 666. No, I'm playing. Oh man, I'm pretty sure that's the number. Wait, no, it's 336. Juju. Yeah. It's 336, right? 336-6799. See?
The iPad. The iPad's ringing.
Oh yeah, see, they don't listen. I said text it, not call it.
Oh, is someone calling the iPad?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Should probably get it later.
Peep the synchronicity though. Imagine that.
Very
Oh
nice.
wow. Kush Day said, "Told Jamal to hurry with them damn books on the website because I'm tired of people asking me to ask him."
No, I'm gonna put them up right now.
All right, someone must have just texted the number because they should. Did they receive a text for consultation? Ready when you are.
They received a phone call. You sure?
What is happening?
They're on their way.
I don't know. Yeah, that's Juju. Yeah, it's probably Juju.
We didn't receive their text. Whoever texted.
I am love. Can you reiterate your question? You said, "What about getting a passport as an American national but not a U.S. citizen?"
So what? An American passport? There's no such thing as an American passport.
She said, as an American national, getting her passport versus her like not being a U.S. citizen.
Revert back to the same law. It says what it says. 22 USC, subsection 212. Persons entitled to passport. It says, no passport shall be granted or issued to or verified for any other persons than those owing allegiance, whether citizens or not, to the United States. So it don't matter what you claim. It doesn't matter what you claim. If you're going to them to get their stuff, you have to owe allegiance to them. Just like the Chinese people. Guess where they get their passports from? The Chinese people. Why? Because they owe their allegiance to their people. So if we actually owed allegiance to our own people, we wouldn't have to go anywhere else for anything. The problem is we don't have allegiance to each other. And since we don't have allegiance to each other, we have no organization. Because in order to have organization, you have to have allegiance to each other.
Sorry.
And if not to each other, to the mission statement of the organization itself, which we don't have that. So it doesn't matter if you put American national on it, or it don't matter what you say, non-U.S. citizen national. It don't matter what you claim.
Don't matter if you have your fez on or off.
Exactly. If you're going to them for their stuff, their requirement is that you owe allegiance to them. That's just what it is. It's not against you, it's not against them, it's not good and it's not bad. That's just what it is. That's it.
Of course, someone called the number.
No, I said text, not call, text.
The food is warm.
The Cash App is Jaleesa L.
Yeah, I put it in the comments.
Yeah. Yeah, is that the if you guys scroll up a couple of comments up, you'll see the Cash App name
And the PayPal.
and the PayPal information.
Just add a note what the fiat is for, so we know.
Yeah, add a note what the fiat is for.
And then write some more at Gmail for PayPal.
Someone asked any property out there for a G a month, 1,000 a month.
Yeah, you just gotta look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely apartments and mortgages if that's what you're looking to get into. For that. You want to edit so we can eat?
Yeah. All right, Mars. Hominus Dominus. All hail our Lord and Savior Jesus the Christ.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for supporting.
Our brother, we're brothers in Christ.
Thanks for fighting.
Yeah, Juju. That's what Juju's saying. Peace.
All right, yo, peace.